Hello, everybody. I am Melissa Forziat. I'm a keynote speaker and the host of this Halt and Catch Fire rewatch podcast. Now, when I speak, my topic is something I call Take the Doughnut, which for me is another way to say carpe diem. It's all about going after the things that you want in life. Well, what I wanted to do this year was to rewatch the show Halt and Catch Fire and talk about it with other people. You, what a blast this has been. Thank you all for talking with me about this show. And today we're going to talk about season 3, episode 2, called One Way or Another. But first, a couple things that I wanted to mention here up the top. So the last interview that I dropped, if you missed it, we better go back. I talked with Carl Ledbetter, who was a technical consultant on the show. Now, you might be thinking, technical consultant, what does that mean? That's not a super sexy title. It is because Carl shared so much information about the show. Carl knows the tech industry inside and out. He reviewed every single script. He sat down with the writers before they all of the writers before season 1 scripts were broken, and just told stories of the tech industry that made their way into the show. Stuff that you'd think, no, surely this couldn't have happened in real life. And turns out a lot of scenes that really stick in my memory were inspired by real life events in the tech industry. So whether you know a lot about the tech industry or not, I think it's going to be a really informative interview for you. And I hope that you all enjoy that. So that was one thing that I wanted to mention. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention here is that when I think of season 3, I think of the tone as being moody and atmospheric and a little dark. And I think because I've gone into season 3 with that expectation, the jokes have been landing harder for me, because the last 2 episodes, the first episode of the season and this one, there at least one scene that left me cracking up. And for this one, I have to tell you, the Boz versus the Robo Butler scenes broke me. So I actually, because of my weird recording schedule for this, I'm going to be traveling soon. So as you may know, I'm getting ahead in my recordings for these episodes. If you want to know what the schedule for that is, I mentioned it in the opener of the season. And I also have it in the comments for the video for season 3, episode 1. So you can check that there. But basically, I've been getting ahead of the game. And so I've been doing a lot of these I have to do a lot of these recordings in a short amount of time. And for this one, I had to break it up over a couple days. I had to watch the episode last night. I'm recording this in the morning, and I was worried that my reaction to that Boz versus the Robo Butler stuff wouldn't be fresh. So I might have a little insert to share with you later with my very raw reaction on that, just in case it's kind of muted now that it's a whole day later for me, or at least a half a day later. But having said all of that, I just wanted to get a couple of those housekeeping items out of the way. And now let's get into it. Season 3, episode 2, One Way or Another. This one originally aired August 23rd, 2016. And I might need to issue a correction here. Last episode, season 3, episode 1, I said that dropped August 21st. But I'm seeing reports that this also dropped August 23rd. And frankly, it doesn't make sense if it dropped August 21st. So I'm guessing that this was like a 2-hour season opener situation. I think they both dropped August 23rd. All right, this one was directed by Kimberly Pierce, and it was written by Michael Saltzman. Here's a description. Cameron and Donna try to get their trading network off the ground, while Gordon continues his lawsuit against Macmillan Utility, both with little success. Ryan, frustrated with his peers at Mutiny, turns to Joe in hopes of employment. All right, let's get into the scene-by-scene breakdown. Okay, we are going to open on the sound of gulls and waves. I love the way this episode opens. So we just have a moment where there's nothing on screen except for that sound. And then we're going to get an extreme close-up of Ryan looking out at the water. And we're going to see the reflection of the water and the waves in his sunglasses. So we're getting like the top half of his face, maybe a little more than half. And we're going to get the reflection of the water in his sunglasses. I absolutely love this visual. He is then going to start slowly turning his head. And because he's turning his head, the reflection in his glasses is shifting until we see somebody surfing in his glasses. Ugh, it's so cool. It's Joe that's surfing. And so what a cool way to introduce this. And then if that weren't cool enough, we're going to get a pre-lap of Donna's voice from the next scene as we're looking at Ryan watching Joe surfing through his glasses. And so we're going to start to hear Donna talk a little bit. Now, when we get to the next scene, what we're going to see is that Donna and Cam are currently pitching to another venture capital firm, or, this is a pitch that they're doing. And they're going to be pitching to two guys named Tim and Mac. And Tim, I think, is a known entity, a connection that they already had, and Tim is introducing them to Mac. So when Donna starts her pre-lap pitch, some of the things she's saying while we're still looking at Ryan are, on our network, users can already have a conversation, send mail, share information, connect. So at some point in the middle of this sentence, we're now going to look at their pitch instead of at Ryan. She says, but this promises to be far more. This is the world's first virtual handshake deal, a trade. So now we're seeing that they've sort of fleshed out their pitch for the idea that they had in the last episode. This idea of going to mutiny into the community forums to trade is fleshed out enough that it's become their pitch. One of the things that I like here is that we're going to see Donna looks really in her element. She looks confident. She presents well. Cam and Donna have got a really good system. They've got a really good energy between them. They've obviously practiced it a lot. They know who's going to speak when. They know how to add to each other's information. But when Cam just looking at her doesn't look as comfortable. You can read what she's thinking on her face. If she's distracted by something in the room or disturbed by a piece of, some body language that she's getting from the person she's pitching to, you'll see it on her face. Where Donna keeps it cool as a cucumber, she's got that smile on. So I just noticed that here. They have different styles. They have a different energy. I see them as two separate people pitching together. But they've obviously worked really hard to be a good team in how they pitch together. So I really like seeing the differences and the togetherness that they've got there. Cam says, so Cam's going to jump in now. She's going to take over. She says, a trade made on your computer that swaps tangible items between users. You get everything you want without ever leaving your home. You do everything from your keyboard. The only person you'll ever see is the mailman. Donna says, we're looking for the right partner. We've currently got 100,000 dedicated users and we're growing. So expansion like this requires another level of funding. Cam jumps in. We need to add more bodies to the coding team, enhance our interface, and purchase. Max stops them. The more senior person in the room that they're pitching to stops them. He's sitting down at his desk, sort of leaned in, kind of folded up, listening with skepticism. And behind him, we've got Tim, who's standing, and he's kind of leaning back. And Tim's got a little bit of a smile on his face for pretty much the entire pitch. Mac looks a little bit more stern. So Mac is going to interrupt. He's like, how much? and get that sort of record scratch feeling because it's like right in the middle of their pitch. He just jumps in with this number question. Donna says, well, in the back of our prospectus, you'll find a detailed breakdown of, we're now going to see the camera angle switch to behind Mac, sort of looking kind of the way they did it with Joe in the last episode, and when he was speaking to the audience at the "Are you safe?" reveal. So we're going to see from behind him out to Donna and Cameron, who are in front of him. So the camera head is now switched to this angle, and he holds up his hands. I guess, like, this, it's looking like that in the frame. He holds up his hands, and Cam actually just flinches when that happens, because again, she's reading the body language in the room, and it affects her. It shows up on her face. And so he says, I saw the number. I'd just like to hear it said out loud. Cam's a little like, ugh, and Donna laughs. But one of those, gotta stay in control of myself laughs. Cam says 1.4 million. At least she throws the number out there. Donna is not able to do things like that. Cam is the one who fights back in these meetings. Donna keeps it cool, but doesn't have a fight back usually. Cam says our base is loyal and costs only rise in success. So our churn rate, and then Donna is going to jump in. So our churn rate, page 25, and our burn rate, 26, are practically non-existent. In its first year alone, we believe Mutiny Exchange will see upwards of 500,000 deals. Today, we're offering you the opportunity to make the first one. I like that closing line there in that section. I think that's a nice, strong, catchy. It feels like something Joe would say to close a pitch. Tim's smile gets a bit bigger. He's like, I told you, Mac. He's feeling very proud of himself for bringing them in. Mac's like, yeah, you were right. First rate. He leans forward. He says, best I've heard in a while. And Cam and Donna are smiling at this. Great. Whew, this is good news. But then he says, very seriously, why am I the last one to hear it? So they're getting their wrists slapped. Donna looks over to Cam, because again, they're on the same page, but Cam's the one who answers the really like confrontational questions. Cam's gonna shake her head. True story. He got them. It's true. He's one of the last to hear their pitch. She says, because we've been assessing the VC landscape. Max says, I've heard you've been up and down Sand Hill Road with this. Nice try at a save here, Cam. Donna says, well, we're new in town. We're hungry and we want to move fast. Cam starts to get that, like, why are we here? Look, I feel like this is taking a turn and it's not going to end well, sort of a look. Max says, okay, I get that. Our portfolio is 27 companies deep as of Q2 1986. We are in on 3Com and Cisco. And he then at this point, he leans back to Tim and he's going to talk to him distracted. Classic, like, I don't have time for you anymore move. And he says, shit, Tim, that reminds me, I got to call Sandy back. Cam, it's a subtle thing, but Cam, she puts her hands in her pockets and it's like, I'm going to get more casual so I can be more comfortable with you. And I can be more comfortable in this room. Like, you're making me shift into this mode now, sort of a feeling. Cam says, well, one of your best was Oracle. This gets Mac's attention. He sits up again. She says it IPO'd last month, 2 million shares, $55 a pop. Max says, sure did. Larry made us 55 million. Are you telling me you could do the same? Cam gets a little cheeky at this point because this is Cam with her hands in her pockets, Cam pitching. So she gets cheeky. She says, well, lend us 1.4 of that 55 and we'll show you. Donna looks over at her and she gets this look on her face like, damn, that's my partner. She's like, look at her. I love there is such a connection between the two of them when they pitch now. They've obviously, it's not even just a practiced pitch. They've also given the pitch a lot. You can tell. So Mac is like, look, we've been burned in the past. We'll throw our hat in the ring only to have our offer shot up and down the valley. I don't like games. I don't want to be used as a stalking horse. If we were to move on this and give you a term sheet, we'd want a no shop in return. And Donna's like, we wouldn't be here if we weren't ready to do business. So he's establishing that there aren't other competitors talking to them right now. That puts Mac and Tim in a position of power on this. And you know who else is going to be in a position of power? Let's go back to that Joe and Ryan situation that's brewing here. So we're going to get a shot of surfers near the Golden Gate Bridge. And again, apparently, a lot of these episodes are shot inside buildings in sets that have been designed, but sometimes we need to show that we're in San Francisco. So we're going to get shots of these surfers surfing right near the Golden Gate Bridge. They could be surfing anywhere, but I think they need to establish for us that this is the city that we're in. And so they use this landmark to do it. But Joe has come out of the water and he is walking to his car. He's carrying his board and he's, getting ready to finish up his surfing day. Ryan is watching him with folded arms. He's then going to unfold his arms as Joe starts to come closer. Ryan says, "Excuse me, Mr. McMillan, sir." Joe keeps walking, puts his head down. He wants to ignore Ryan as much as he can. He says, "If I can have a moment of your time, sir." Joe walks past Ryan, still ignoring him. And here's the part that I love so much. Ryan is now going to follow Joe to his car, which he was already standing next to. He was on sort of like I don't know, people are running past him. So he was on kind of a running path, but he had found Joe's car and he planted himself next to it. So there was no way he was going to miss Joe once he found him. By the way, Joe's car, again, I don't often notice cars in this show. I saw this car and this was interesting. It's like a bright orange vehicle. Turns out it's a Jeep Cherokee from the 80s. What a distinctive car. I don't know if we see this one more, but I've never. Joe is just a whole new guy now. He surfs. He has an orange Jeep Cherokee. What are you going to do? All right. So Ryan follows him to his car and he says, 3,001, those are the odds of getting hit by lightning in your lifetime. They're also the odds of getting hit by a computer virus. Joe is not addressing him for any of this. He's putting his board in the back of his car. Everything's so open. Like his car, the back of his Jeep is just, there's no window there. It's just open, his window open. It's hard for me to imagine doing that. There's, I guess, the New Yorker in my heart still is like, leave everything locked and your windows rolled up. So, okay. So that Ryan's sharing all of this about, the odds of getting hit by a computer virus. Then he continues, but in like 5 years, those odds are going to go way up for viruses, not for lightning. Joe's still ignoring him. He says, but that's why your work is so critical, because people are focused on today and you're already into tomorrow. Ryan, as he talks, it's like his words hit him as he talks. So in this moment, he's getting astonished by the sheer realization of it all. Like, your work is the future. Finally, Joe says, okay, do you have a name? He walks. He was at the back of his car. He now wants to walk up to the front. He wants to walk to the driver's seat. But Ryan's standing in the way. So as he says, do you have a name? Joe starts walking forward, taking big loping steps, and Ryan is now walking backwards, trying not to get run over by Joe. Doesn't want to get stepped on. Ryan says, yeah, of course, it's Ryan Ray. Joe opens the driver door. And he says, Ryan, it's 52 degrees in that water. I'm going to get into some dry clothes. He so his door is open, blocking him and Ryan, but then Joe goes ahead and unzips his wetsuit and just starts pulling it down. Ryan's still looking at him. Ryan, turn around, Ryan. Ryan continues his pitch looking at Joe. He says, I work for Mutiny with Cameron Howe and Gordon Clark. Joe just gives him one of these. Just a skeptical eye. And then he goes back to undressing. Ryan continues, Macmillan Utility is basically Sonorous Virus with lipstick. Ryan has a way of boiling something down to its essential elements in a way that is not all that flattering for people's work. Joe just lets him keep going. He pulls off his wetsuit. And finally, he's like probably standing there naked. Ryan finally turns around, but keeps talking. Ryan says, and only 2 K-locks out of 452 separated. And those 2 K-locks completely changed the functionality and purpose of the entire program. It's completely amazing. Ryan, now talking, is completely amazed and proud. He says, and I pulled it apart in less than a day. Joe throws his wetsuit into the car. He's standing there. We don't often see a lot of bare-chested Joe in this show. So when they do, they have to show us those scars that they showed us in season 1. And they do. We get a really prominent shot of all the scars on his chest. But he is probably totally naked, maybe just mostly naked. Joe's like, trying to impress me, Ryan? Ryan turns to him. Oh, he's naked. He turns back. It's like, yeah, that was sort of the point. Joe now puts on some shorts. Joe says, can I ask a question? And he gets into his car. He shuts the door. He leans, out the window a little bit. Ryan comes to the window. He's like, yeah, sure, anything. Joe says the Bay Area has 13 breaks worth the Bay Area has 13 breaks worth surfing. How many did you go to before you found me? Ryan says, honestly, 4. Joe chuckles a little bit like, BS. Nah. He puts on his glasses. He's waiting for the real answer. Ryan's like, okay, 11. Joe starts his car. He backs out of his spot. He leaves Ryan standing there and drives away. I guess, okay, so Ryan and Joe have now interacted. In the last episode, we saw that Ryan was at Joe's reveal for the Are You Safe thing, the big speech he gave at the Castro. So we know that Ryan has been in the room with Joe. We know that he thinks something about Joe is worth pursuing, but now they're actually interacting. And in this episode, Ryan comes off urgent, so urgent. Urgent in a way that's almost upsetting to me. Like, urgent in a way that feels... there's like a darkness to it. There's an unstable energy to it for me. And I think that has a lot to do with the sort of the moody and atmospheric way that I would describe this season. Like, we get a character like Ryan who brings an energy like this to it. But it's also an energy that we haven't really seen. We've seen Gordon be unstable. So maybe this is an echo of that, but I think this is a little darker than how I felt about Gordon initially. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how these two interact. And in this scene, Joe is not really giving him the time of day. He sort of is, it's almost like he's toying with him or deciding if he wants to. Or if, I don't know, maybe he has achieved a certain celebrity status and he's become more guarded of himself. Apparently not of his car because he left all the windows open. But, I'm trying to sort of gauge what I think is happening between Joe and Ryan in this episode. And maybe I'll sort of talk my way into an answer on that. Okay, we're going to go back to the mutiny office. Donna and Cam and Boz are in this scene. Boz is sort of sitting on the windowsill. He's leaning against it. Cam is sitting behind her desk. Donna is kind of pacing back and forth in front of the big window. Donna's saying 12 days in the same old song and dance. He's still working on Mac, probably Tim. Cam's sitting behind her desk and she says, okay, so then Tim's either full of shit or he's got no juice. Like, can Tim really do anything here? Donna's like, okay, Harper was our last shot. So the investment firm is Harper. Harper was our last shot. We've got a couple more meetings with their smaller boutique firms. If we get denied first round funding across the board, it'll be impossible to get that stink off no matter what we do next. So there is an urgency for them as well here. Cam is going to throw down a legal pad on her desk. She's like, I don't get it. The idea is great. The prospectus kicks ass in every meeting we've gone into. She feels really confident, like that question that they were coming up with in the last episode, is this it? Somewhere along the way, they've talked themselves into, this is it. We don't question that anymore. Why aren't people listening to this? Donna is going to give us a little bit more exposition. 14 VC firms and nobody stepped up. Why? So, this is why their pitch seems so prepared and practiced now. Boss says, hey, these clowns want to make you wait. They think it gives them some kind of an allure, but it takes just one of them to ask you to the dance. Cam says, God, I love how even the metaphors in this business are sexist. That is an important sentence, because we're just going to see that play out over and over. We've already seen that play out with Bondum, who they had pitched to in the past. But we'll certainly see that come up again in this episode. Donna says, we can hit them with all the data and all the hard facts we want, but the minute we walk in there, they see just one thing. Boss is like, you can't take it so personally. Donna says, but this company is us. It's personal. Boss is like, yeah, give it time. Kim just gets frustrated. She's like, Buzz, we haven't heard back from a single investor in weeks. We've given it time. Boss says, what do you want me to say? Look, the fact that you two are women, I'm sure, doesn't help matters. And Cam pauses. He said it. Donna just sort of sits and slumps into a chair. She's like, I think I liked it better when you were lying to us. One of the things I like about this room, in terms of, the props and the set dressing and all of that, there are kids' drawings all over this room. So, I assume this is Cam's office because she's sitting behind the desk, but it could be Donna's office, it could be a shared space, but they're both living with Donna's kids. So there's pictures all over drawn by at least one of Donna's children. It's quite a lot of kid drawing decor in here. Okay, so Donna's like, I think I liked it better when you were lying to us. Boz says, these smiling VCs out here love to grin and screw you, don't they? Donna flops her head back. He says, at least in Texas, they stab you in the front. So he is just getting adjusted to the new way of doing business here, and he's not loving it. There's going to be a knock on the door. Boz is like, what? Dave opens the door. He says, Tim Henkel from Harper Capital. Speak of the devil. They all look very alert in the room. Donna stands up. They all go over to the phone and they huddle around it. Cam and Donna are on one side of the desk. Boz is on the other. Donna picks up the line. She says, Tim, hey, have you heard from Mac yet? Or do I have to keep calling you until you take a restraining order out on me? And in the middle of that, sometimes when you talk and then you keep talking and you should have stopped because nothing good can come of continuing to talk. She gets that look on her face like, oh my God, I'm still talking. Oh my God, I'm saying more things. I said the words restraining order. In the middle, right after she finishes that, she's like, I don't know. Like, she says it so he can't hear it, but she's like, somebody save me from myself. Tim's going to laugh it off. He's like, I know. I'm sorry it's taking so long, but it was worth it. Where to go? turns out he was misrepresenting that a little bit. But this is exciting news for Cam and Donna. They celebrate. Boz is starting to celebrate. They're trying to do silent celebrations because they're on speakerphone. And he's like, I told you I'd get Mac on board, and I'm a man of my word. He just got back from Aspen, but he's off to LA tomorrow. So he wants something in place before he leaves. Are you two free to talk first steps tonight? Boz has come to the window that's overlooking the rest of the office. He's got a little smile on his face. Donna and Cam are barely composed. They take it. There's a little pause before anybody answers, and he looks back at them. And Donna's like, yes, let me check my schedule and get back to you. She presses hold, and they lose it. They get excited. Cam shouts. Boz laughs and pumps his fist. Donna's jumping up and down. They're hugging. It's, because I'm trying to deep dive on this, I'm often going back and kind of rewinding scenes over and over again to watch different people in each scene. And so just watching this moment of celebration as I kept watching it, it made me feel like I was part of the team. Like I feel excited for them. Okay, so now we're going to go from this view. The camera is going to start to move this way. It's going to blend through a wall, and then we're going to get the main room of the mutiny office. And the first person we're going to see Gordon walking into frame holding a bag of Doritos, eating his Doritos. Gordon hovers over Wonder Boy's desk as Wonder Boy is coding. He's going to critique it. He's like, you can do that without the go-to statements. It's always better without spaghetti branching. Structured programming. We see plumes of smoke coming up from Carl's desk. He's smoking. Gordon is still talking to Wonder Boy. He's like, Bone Jackapine style. Wonder Boy's like, Bone Jackapine. You got it. Yeah, I'll write it down. Carl's just watching all of this. He's looking at Gordon. We see Bodie on the phone in frame. Yo-Yo's taking all this in. He's like walking the floor, not really working, wearing a tie. You looking to become management, Gordon? Gordon says, no, what? I got another bullshit deposition today, going in tomorrow too. So he's just, keeping busy. He was like, the McMillan lawsuit. He grabs a Dorito from the bag as Gordon walks closer to him. Gordon's like, yep, that's already 3 this month. Doggett, one of the other coders, says, is that intimidating, getting grilled with Joe McMillan staring at you with those eyes of his? I like that Doggett says that here because we're going to see those eyes applied to Ryan as we go through this episode, and you can see how much it rattles somebody who has less Joe McMillan experience. Gordon says, no, he's not even there. It's just me and the lawyers. More boring than brutal. They ask you the same stupid questions over and over, hoping you'll slip up. Give anything if it was to be over so I could collect that damn check already. Now they're all listening to him because, Gordon's told his tales of woe and his stories about Joe before. And so that, they always seem interested to hear more. Yo-Yo says, yeah, that'd be sweet, but better brush the nacho dust off of your tie first. And Gordon looks down. He's like, oh, man. And he starts brushing the nacho dust off his tie. Boz is going to come out of that upstairs office area, and he starts walking down onto the floor. He says, okay, gentlemen, it's time for a meeting now. It's that time of the week again. They all groan. I know. I love it too. All right, I need some clarification on your supply needs because, well, there was a bit of confusion last time. Ryan, I think we get some really important shots of Ryan at, as you just establish his relationship to the rest of the team in the last episode. In this one, he looks really annoyed to be interrupted by anybody, including Boz, especially for a meeting like this. So Boz continues, after he made the deal with Hayes for the 2400s, I got on the phone with the fella from fulfillment and he asked if I wanted those additional RS-232 cables, to which, and as he's talking, we can see all of the guys, except for Ryan, who's not amused, all the other guys are trying to stifle laughter. They obviously played a joke on Boz and they're waiting for the payoff. So he says, to which, per your wise instruction, reply, no, sir, those are not the droids that I'm looking for. They all crack up. Yep, joke worked. Says, so after he got done laughing his ass off, he explained that someone must be messing with me. Well done, boys. I appreciate it. Now, moving on. All right. I need an update. I think it goes to show you, like, a joke like this works because Boz doesn't know enough about the industry. He doesn't know enough about the people that he's working with to really be able to spot when he's being pranked. He's given it his best. It's good-natured, but he doesn't really speak their language exactly. So he kind of moves past the practical joke and he's still walking. He stops kind of near Ryan, which gives us an opportunity just to keep watching how annoyed Ryan is by all of this. So he says, I need an update on the graphics extension for the Mutiny Exchange demo you all are working on and how it will interface with existing neighborhood graphics. Ryan looks pissed. Lev says we have the sprite. Lev is going to give an update. He says we have the sprite engine mostly working, but we still have a problem with the scanline rendering. We're going to get tons of tech speak here. He was like, yeah, we're getting a tile map cache miss, so we're losing synchronization on the palette. I don't even need to know what they're saying here to understand that Boz doesn't know what they're saying. So I'm not the only person experiencing this scene who doesn't know what they're saying. And I think that's part of the point. If you do know a lot about the tech industry, then it's enough just to say Boz has no idea what they're talking about. But I am just as confused as Boz in this situation. So Boz like, okay, hold it. So is the thing with the palette connected to the Ryan slams his desk and he turns and he says, as I said last time, Boz is like, hey, oh my God, you cannot talk to your higher up like this in front of your entire team. Ryan says, we should be using a blitter on a bitmap so we can do it in software and not freeze out devices that don't have support for hardware sprites. He is, again, so annoyed. It's so much tech speak. Boz still has no idea what he's talking about. And Ryan's coming at him with an energy that he should not be coming at him with. Gordon is out of focus behind Ryan, but you can tell that he's paying attention to all of this, and everybody's paying attention. He's starting to lean forward. Like you can almost see he feels like when do I jump in on this? Boz says, okay, slow down. Are we in agreement here? You're talking about a whole new change of course. Ryan says, it doesn't matter. Just scribble down what we say, give it to Cameron. She'll understand what we're talking about and stop wasting our time. He turns back to his work. Wow. Ryan, all he does is work. And the thing is, the way he is approaching Boz isn't isolated to just Boz, because in the last episode, we saw that when Bodhi, and I think it was Dave, they tried to interrupt him to invite him to go to, what was it, Burger King? And he was like, no, get out of my face. He was working alone in the basement. Now at least he's upstairs with everybody, but is he? He's not part of it. He's not part of it. Like, and I'm not sure it's because they weren't including him. I think it's because he's just so annoyed by them. Everybody moves too slowly for Ryan. Nobody is ever going to be focused enough for Ryan. He wants to do things that mean things, and he doesn't want to be playing practical jokes and trying to explain tech language to Boz. Like he's just had enough of this. But he has confronted Boz and insulted Boz in front of everybody that Boz manages. So Boz is going to walk very slowly over to Ryan. Gordon watching all of this like a hawk. Boz says, I'm not sure I got all that. See, sometimes I'm a bit slow. Ryan looks at him. He says, need things repeated to me twice. Boz is so pissed, he gets quiet. He's quiet pissed. Boss says, why don't you stand up and say that to my face? Ryan just looks like, he looks frustrated, but he looks like, now I'm in trouble. Boss says, you want to stand up and repeat that to my face, son? And Gordon is now going to get up and he is going to walk close to them. And he says in a low voice, hey, Boz, you got a sec? And he just sort of escorts him away from Ryan. Not because nothing good can come of all this. Real quick, Boz. And he just kind of moves him off to the side so that he can separate the two of them. Yo-Yo is staring at Ryan, who's turned back to his work. Yolo looks back to the rest of the team and he gives this close signal to Bodhi. Like, okay, that almost came to blows there. Like Boz almost lost it. So now Gordon's going to have a private conversation with Boz. He's like, hey, listen, I know you hate these meetings. Boz says, oh yeah, compared to a prostate exam? No, I positively love them. He's pretty heated. He says, look, it's not my forte, Gordon. Gordon's like, I get it. Yeah. Boz says, the girls have their plates full, but Cam says, Boz, you want to, and Gordon's like, okay. Let me run these meetings. All right. I speak their language. They can't mess with me. It would be more efficient. He pauses. He's not sure how this is going to be received. He's like, I'm not trying to step on your toes. Boz just shoves his clipboard in Gordon's chest. Is like, take it. This is yours. Don't want it. Wake me if there's a problem, he says. So now Gordon is going to turn back to the guys. He now has the managerial clipboard and he looks a little satisfied with himself. You know, frankly, we haven't seen him look satisfied so far this season until now. So I don't know, is this the first step to maybe getting his groove back? Hard to say, but he's going to walk towards the guys. Ryan is going to approach him and he's like, thanks for having my back. Gordon says, yeah, sure. He pulls Ryan to the side. He says, look, I know what it's like to be the smartest guy in the room. And I also know it's a waste of time trying to prove it. Ryan has a little bit of a scowl. I can't quite decide if Ryan has a respect for Gordon and is really listening to Gordon, or if he has more respect for Gordon than the rest of the guys, but is still like thinking Gordon is even beneath his level. I tend to think the latter. I feel like the energy that he approaches Joe with later in this episode, we don't see Ryan get so animated and so inspired with anybody but Joe, including Gordon here. So my takeaway from that, if I think about the Joe and Ryan scenes and I compare that to how he is with Gordon, I think that he is more inclined to listen to Gordon than anybody else in that main room. But I think he still thinks he's better than Gordon. So I don't know, curious for your thoughts on that as well. But okay, so Gordon's trying to tell him, you know, it's a waste of time trying to prove that you're the smartest guy in the room. Let your work speak for itself and be open to the possibility that people that don't understand you, they're not trying to get in your way. Ryan says, how can I if nobody can see the work that I'm doing? Like, I have ideas, real ideas, and they might sound theoretical, but I can make them happen. Gordon's listening to this. What ideas does he have? Ryan says, I told Cameron and Donna, but they don't even listen. They just had Boz pay me to shut up. Gordon's going to step closer to him. Like, what ideas? He wants to know. We're going to go from here to a restaurant. It's dinner. It's a nice, well-lit restaurant. We're going to get one of those ceiling down shots to just sort of establish the room. We've got a big chandelier in frame. Cameron and Donna are at dinner with Mac and Tim. Mac is in the middle of telling a story that he's more impressed with than Donna or Cam. So he's saying, on the way back to the lodge, Dawkins says, let's make snow angels. The camera's sort of circling the table now. It's at their level. Mac says, he lies down in the snow, sticks out his arms, and then passes out just drunk as a skunk. We called him Snow Jesus the rest of the trip. Cam, you can see it all over her face. She's just wide-eyed. She's nodding with a fake smile, but she's very much unamused. It's like, I think I'm supposed to be smiling and laughing here, but I don't like this guy. Donna is laughing fakely. Tim is laughing for real. He is not necessarily the ally that we're going to find out that they thought he was to them. And you want to think he's faking it too with Mac, but I don't actually think he is here. Cam says, okay, glad you had a good ski thing. Tim said you wanted to discuss first steps. She just leans in. It's like, can we just get down to business already? Max says, I want to level with you. Donna's like, okay. He says, I'm sure you heard about AT&T axing Butron. Cam and Donna both say, yeah, heard about that. Max says, some folks in town think that's the end of online newspapers. We're going to get a flicker of confusion on Donna's face because Cam just directly asked him to talk about their business. He's talking about everybody else's business. Max says, I've got some insight into what's really going on over at Night Ritter, and I think that just I think that just real opportunity is being vacated here. Cam is very confused. Donna's like, which means, like, where are we going with this? Max says, which means I'm going to go in big on video techs. It's going to tie up more of our capital, which also means I don't think I can do 1.4. I'm sorry. Cam nods once with understanding, kind of nods up. She says, oh, so it's a pass then. She's trying to figure out why they're at this table. Because they came in thinking they were about to make a deal, that they had already said yes. And now he's backpedaling. Tim says, no, hold on. It's not that black and white. We still want you in the portfolio. He's got a very optimistic nod. Tim and your optimistic nods. Okay, stop it, Tim. Max says, your concept has just great potential. And honestly, the two of you, really sharp. And I was like, thank you. But Max says, Tim, do you want to walk them through it? Tim, deliver the bad news for me. Tim says, yeah, okay, so we can't do 1.4, but what if we aim for a leaner, meaner mutiny exchange? Cam squints, you mean cheaper? Max says, no, smarter, doing more with less. Like, for instance, I think you can make do with half as many new hires as you laid out. Donna wants to object. Cam is confused now. Like, what are we doing at this table? Tim says, yeah, I think you can skip the server computer upgrades, at least initially. Max starts to pull a bottle of champagne off ice. He's like, less risk, more reward. It's a surefire way to go. Does that sound good? He's lifting the glass, the bottle of champagne to pour it. Donna's like, hold on a second. Let's hold on that for a moment. So he's going to put the champagne back on ice now. She says, what I'm hearing is that you want to lock us up by investing a fraction of what we're asking. I love the delivery of this from Carrie Boucher because she says that whole last thing with a smile. What I'm hearing is you want to lock us up by investing half of what we asked. Again, like she's really nailed that like calm demeanor sort of a thing. Tim is downright jovial, a joviality that does not belong at this table right now. He says, no, you're misinterpreting what we're saying. Donna smiles back, but isn't really feeling the smile that's on her face. Mac's like, yeah, Oracle was the same deal. You know, remember when you said Oracle in the last meeting? Oracle was the same deal. The investment grew over time. It's just how things get done out here. Cam says, okay, then how much money are you offering us? Like, let's talk facts. And Max says, that's a number we're still trying to figure out. That's what this was all about, getting the ball rolling, assuming you're amenable. And I was like, well, you know, we put a lot of thought into that number. There wasn't really fat there. Cam says, yeah, there's no fat. Max says, well, look, you two are new to the Valley. He starts pouring champagne for Donna. He says, and I know you want everything right away. But out here, funding is like doubles tennis. He starts pouring champagne for Cam. Donna's looking uncomfortable. Cam's like, uh-huh, in the least agreeable way possible. Like, it's an uh-huh that doesn't really mean uh-huh. Max says, you gotta know who you're partnering with. Cam looks really uncomfortable now. Max says, can you trust each other? Donna now realizes what they're really doing at this table. Max like, do you play well together? Is it a good fit? And he just really hits the word fit hard. The only thing he could have done to make it worse was to do something like this. Ew. So all of a sudden, this is now a double date. And they did not come here for a double date. And Mac hasn't put it in those exact terms. He's not saying anything specifically to incriminate himself. But this is a double date in his eyes. And at the very least, it's like, well, I'll keep just sharing what he says because that's the worst thing of all, really. Donna is speechless from all of this. She knows what he thinks this is. Mac's like, it's not easy to know after just one meeting or even one dinner. It takes the after dinner part, I guess, in Mac's brain. Cam says, yeah, listen, we both know that success in this industry comes down to timing. We have to be the first to market, and without sufficient funding, our ability to do it is seriously compromised, and then we all lose. God bless Cam for trying to bring it back to business. But Mac isn't having that. He's like, I hear that, but let's just take a beat, enjoy our meal, and see how the evening goes. Mac. It's so gross. Cam just sort of, her eyes were wide, and then she just lowers her eyebrow. It's like, how do we make this all unhappen? Max says, and then maybe I'll look into cutting you a good faith check in the morning. Okay, so now what is this, Pretty Woman? I'm just, what I'm eating. So Donna is full on offended, as well she should be. She looks away. She can't even look at Mac, and he can see that. He has been doing all of this despite the very clear signals of discomfort from Donna and Cam, but he has been forging ahead anyway. Mac can now see that they're not having it. He tried to close this deal. It didn't land the way he thought it might. Cam leans away from him. He's like, I'm just going to pop out for a call. Just think it over. Let's face it, Mac is never coming back to this table while they're here. He's going to leave Tim to clean this up. He gets up, he walks away from the table, and Cam and Donna just look at each other. They're having like a whole conversation through their gaze right now. Donna says to Tim, I thought this was a serious meeting. This was the guy they knew at the table. And I think they're still hoping that Tim is in some way an ally to them. And then we're going to see where Tim's stance is. Tim's like, we are serious. Kim says, well, what the hell was that then? Tim's like, it was an opportunity for you guys to jump to the front of the line. He's confused. Isn't that what you wanted? Didn't you want to have sex with us to get investment money? I mean, he doesn't say it, but my God, I think Tim really believes it. They are just stunned. There's a long pause, as in, no, that is not what we wanted. Tim's like, well, wow, okay. My apologies if he misread things. And apparently Tim as well. Donna is offended. She is tearing up now. She's like, what could he have possibly misread? We have been nothing but professional. Tim says, are you kidding? You guys call every day for 2 weeks. You drop everything the night he calls you to dinner. And I'm sorry, but nobody wears that shade of lipstick unless they have come to play. He's referencing the fact that Donna is wearing bright red lipstick. Cam is horrified by all of this. Donna is horrified by all of this. Cam is going to, at this point, when the lipstick comes up, Cam just pushes her chair back. She grabs her bag. She says, "We are going." And she makes sure Donna leaves the table too. They stand, they leave. Tim just scoffs at all of this. Donna starts to turn back to say, she's got that "and another thing" energy. But Cam is going to grab her and just escort her out. They need to get out of this room. This is not what they thought it was. And the thing about it too is that everything is on the line right now. They have taken their idea to every major VC firm, and the only ones left are these smaller boutique firms. And walking away from this table puts their entire team at jeopardy. They don't want to be like a company that just makes it a couple years, if that, and then fades out. And, that was assuming that they got backing for this idea. So like there is a lot riding on this meeting, and they still get up and they still walk away, and they're still deeply offended, and they're not doing it. They're not stooping to this level. And they're very supportive of each other in that. Neither of them is considering this. Both of them are reacting the same way. And so they're on the same page. Okay, we're going to go to Macmillan Utility. We're in a lobby area, like a waiting area, and Ryan is waiting. And Joe is going to walk around the corner talking to his team. He is barking orders. It's like, "I want our discs available beyond stores aimed at the computer crowd. What's the point of making something free if no one can find it?" He sees Ryan, and his gaze kind of lingers on Ryan. He recognizes Ryan. And he stops. The setup of this office seems very strange to me. Maybe I just haven't been in enough corporate offices, but it's like maybe this is not the main waiting area, the main lobby area. Maybe this is a secondary lobby area next to his office, because I guess only the people who are meeting with him would get to this part of the building. That would make more sense to me, I think, than this just being a general waiting room. Because Ryan's in this room, and there's a desk, and then there's all these other seats, and then Joe's office, you can see it from where Ryan is sitting. There's a lot of windows, the blinds are all open. You can see into Joe's office from the waiting room. So I think I just talked my way into explaining the layout of this space. Okay, so Joe is going to stop in front of his office. He's not going to bring these people he's barking orders to inside of it, but he has this whole conversation with them in front of Ryan, pretty much. He says, "Listen, be creative. We're after first-time PC users. We should be in grocery stores, video stores, malls. We want to be everywhere they are. I want people sick of seeing us the way I'm sick of seeing you." And he sends all of these people away. He is a mean boss, man. He never talked. Like, when I think about how he treated the team at Cardiff Electric, he never talked to those guys like this. He was always like, "Give me your ideas, blue sky." He's sick of seeing all these people. And so they all go away. He's going to go over to the receptionist, who I guess is Joe's personal secretary. She gives him his tea. He brings it into his office. He walks away drinking it. He's wearing white flowy pants. I mean, this is a Joe that surfs and wears white flowing pants in the office. He has really shifted his energy quite a bit. He's drinking tea. So he is going to walk into his office. The blinds are up so we can see him going into his office, walking towards his desk. Ryan's still just sitting there. He's like, "Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it." The camera now shifts and watches Ryan, and behind him, the receptionist is working. And from Joe's office, Joe shouts, "Cynthia!" Apparently that's the receptionist's name. Cynthia looks a little disturbed. I guess I should call her a personal assistant. She looks a little disturbed. She's going to get up. She's going to walk into his office. Ryan is going to watch her go. He's like, "Wait for it. Wait for it." He's twitching his nose a little bit. I like this choice from Manish Dayal, who he's giving Ryan a little tick. And I think that really plays between the last episode and this one. I'm really seeing like I'm seeing why Daisy von Scherler-Mayer described him as neurodivergent, and I'm seeing they're just giving him some things here. So he has this little twitch that he's doing here as he's waiting. And another thing that I really like about the directing choices and the camera choices for this is that Ryan, as this personal assistant, goes to talk to Joe in his office. The camera has only Ryan in the frame, but he's barely in it. He's all the way to the side. He's like 1/4. There's all of this room on the side in his chair, but also he's down like this, and the front of him is blocked because this is shot over some armchairs that are in front of him. So the armchairs are blocking all of this part of him. So Ryan's the only person in this frame, and the camera can't even be bothered to show us all of Ryan. So even the camera's ignoring him here. Okay, so Cynthia is now going to come out of Joe's office. She's going to walk up to Ryan. She says, "Are you Ryan Ray?" He says, "Yeah." She says, "Mr. McMillan will see you." Cynthia opens the office doors. I love this choice as well. We're going to see Cynthia shot from behind and sort of slightly up. And so it looks huge. It looks like the grandest entrance ever when Cynthia opens both of those double doors and lets him in. So we're going to follow Cynthia into the room. We're going to see Ryan following her into the room. And she's going to leave. She's going to close the door behind her. And Joe says, "Every day this week at 9 a.m., I've got a meeting scheduled with Ryan Ray." Joe looks very amused. He turns his monitor so that Ryan can see it. And this is 9 a.m., meet with Ryan Ray. I just wanted to note that we can, and for the rest of the scene, we can only see 2 other meetings on his calendar for this day. Like, how could that be? There's no way. I feel like if they had filled his calendar with meetings, we wouldn't be able to see distinctly that he has a 9 a.m. with Ryan Ray, but it doesn't seem plausible to me that the CEO of this company only has, 1 meeting in the morning. But anyway, so Joe says, "How long did this take you?" He's smiling a little bit. Ryan says, 2 hours. He's very proud of himself. And so Joe says, "Okay, well, you're here. You've gone to a lot of trouble to be here. You've got 3 minutes." Quick observation about this room. There's a bunch of, just seems like Joe's taking on a different style. He's got some abstract art. There's a lot of sort of Asian vibe to the decor and the art in this space. He's I don't know, he's absorbing a sort of California lifestyle mentality. He's getting a little more spiritual. I don't know. But he also, as we know from season 1, he has had a lot of business dealings in Tokyo. So I think, maybe he's sort of letting some of that infuse into his style now. So Ryan is going to walk very quickly to sit down. It's like, I love these choices. He just walks fast and then he sits. He says, "Okay, I'll cut to the chase. I want to work at McMillan Utility." Joe says, "Want is very different than need." Ryan says, "Okay, I need to work here." Joe's like, "Why?" Joe wants to be pitched. Ryan says, "Because I'm fascinated by antivirus software." Joe, I feel like Joe is just toying with him through this whole section, this whole part where they're both sitting down. He's just playing with Ryan. He's like, it bores me. Ryan says, "Okay, because you set the gold standard and you're looking for your next challenge. I am too." Joe says, "What makes you think you know what I'm looking for?" Ryan is so challenged by Joe. Ryan is so infuriated about how much smarter he is than every single other person he encounters. He's never surprised in conversations with other people. He's always disappointed. But with Joe, it's like Joe is a puzzle he cannot figure out. So Joe's like, what makes you think you know what I'm looking for? Ryan's like, I don't. Yeah, that was presumptuous. Only you know that. Joe is still smiling. He's completely playing with Ryan. It's like, what makes you think I know what I'm looking for? A message beeps and pops up on his Macintosh Plus. I love it. It looks just like the computer that Joe saw at Comdex at the end of season 1 that he was so in love with. Ryan can even see the message. I mean, like, just to have this thing where other people can see the message, the person you're talking to that you're meeting with can see the messages that are coming in. That's so ballsy. So Joe looks over at the message. Ryan's like, well, because you're brilliant. Wait, don't you? I mean, you don't have to answer that. Why would you like know what you want? Ryan is just struggling. It's just struggle street over here. He says, whatever you want to do next, I'm in. He's got 3 minutes. He needs to get back to the pitch. Joe stares blankly at him. Ryan is so confused. He's like, okay, this is a test and that was the wrong answer, right? Joe continues to stare at him. He says, this is a test and that was the right answer? I don't know what you want me to say. Joe just keeps staring at him. Ryan made his close at the start of the meeting and doesn't, he's like, I just want to work for you. That was his close. And that's all he's got. So Joe's continuing to stare at him. He's like, whatever you actually came here to say, I can't imagine I've heard it yet. Ryan's like, shoot, I finished with the close of hire me. Ryan says, I feel like you're judging me. It doesn't matter what I say. Even when you're not talking, you seem disappointed. You could ask me what color the sky is, and I would say blue. Joe looks out the window to verify. And somehow I'd be wrong, Ryan says. Joe says, you would be. It's overcast. He's just toying with Ryan so much. Ryan just exhales very sharply. He says, you plucked Gordon Clark out of obscurity, right? Joe looks up from his tea. He said the name Gordon Clark. Ryan says, he was nothing before he met you. I know him. I work with him. Joe says, so you keep saying. He's going to get up and he's going to walk away. He's going to go to the window. He's got, what a huge office this is. He's got this big bank of floor to ceiling windows. The blinds, you know, the blinds are sort of turned a little bit so you can see, and he's just got this beautiful view out into the city. So he's like, Ryan's just barely got his attention now. He's hanging by a thread in this 3 minutes. Ryan says, I'm just as good as he is and a hard worker with initiative. He says all this staying seated. He's like, he's got this energy like a little dog just yapping at its owner. Ryan says, I learned you surfed, so I woke up at 5 a.m. for 2 weeks straight and cased 11 beaches to find you. I hacked a security company. He stands up. Your security company. Doesn't any of that prove? And now Joe's just sort of looking down, maybe at his watch. Because again, Ryan opened with his close of like, I want to work here. And now his only thing that he can do is sell his passion. And I think this idea of like, you've approved of working with Gordon in the past, why not me? Ryan says, okay, this is going to sound weird. This gets Joe's attention. He says, and I feel ridiculous even saying this, but I know that something's coming, something big. The camera starts to push in on Ryan. Then the camera goes to Joe, who's very attentive now. Maybe, just maybe, Ryan will say something that interests and surprises Joe. Something's coming, something big, like a train, and all I want is to jump on board, but it's getting faster and faster, and I'm terrified that I'm going to miss it. That night that you spoke at the Castro, Joe looks back at the window. I'm going to finish what Ryan's saying, and I have an interpretation here. That night at the Castro, I was like, finally, somebody sees the world the way I do. And I knew right then that this was my ticket on that train. I don't know what else to tell you, man. I just want to work with you, need to work with you on anything. Please, nobody listens to me. No one takes me seriously. I don't want to get left behind. He's getting more and more urgent as this pitch goes on, like desperately urgent. Joe. So I took a lot from the when he looks at Ryan and when he looks away. He looks at Ryan when Ryan's saying, this is going to sound weird. Something's coming, something big. Joe is interested in that and listening. He gives the whole like a train, I want to get on board. It's getting faster. I'm going to miss it. He has Joe's attention for all of that. And then he says, that night when you spoke at the Castro, and Joe looks away, he looks back outside and he stays looking out the window for the whole rest of that speech that Ryan gave. And I think Joe was hoping. I think that Joe doesn't have any ideas of his own right now. I think that even this thing that he's now the leader of this company, it was Gordon's idea. It was not Joe's idea. He's being credited with the idea. He's getting paid like it was just his idea, but he does not have an idea right now. We have never seen Joe not having an idea, something that he was interested in pursuing, something that lit his fire. He's just the CEO of this company. He doesn't even have meetings on the calendar. He's surfing in the mornings. Ryan comes in with all this enthusiasm, wants to get on. Something big is coming. And I think Joe was interested because he thought Ryan was going to tell him what big thing is coming. But then Ryan says, when you spoke at the Castro, you inspired me. And I think Joe knows it was all empty at the Castro. It was a big show. It was like him at Comdex promising people a giant that didn't work. I think Joe knows like, oh, the thing at the end, the thing at the Castro inspired you. That was nothing. Like I had nothing to say. I just said words and there was nothing behind it. He was being a salesman there, but not actually creating anything. I took so much away from when he looks at Ryan and when he looks back. It really meant something to me, those gestures. And Ryan doesn't know where he went wrong here, because Joe just wanted Ryan to actually have an idea. But Ryan's only goal is, I want to work with you because you have ideas. So it doesn't line up right now. But Ryan does have this energy. So after all this, Joe turns back to Ryan. He looks at him knowingly. He says, your 3 minutes are up. And he walks away from Ryan. Ryan clearly never considered that Joe would turn him down. He didn't consider that he would do this all and Joe would not be interested. All right, we're going to get a close-up of Donna. She is wiping lipstick from her lips, poor Donna, because they're about to go into another meeting. So Donna's rethinking her makeup choices based on the last meeting. Cam looks at her. She shakes her head. She says, you look great. And Donna smiles. That's supportive, Cam. I like that. So a receptionist comes out of a waiting room for a firm called Amador Gould Gilson. She asks them to follow her. They're escorted into an office and they're going to go wait there for like a second. And then Diane comes in right after. Diane! Yes. This is one of those small boutique firms, but it's got Diane. Okay. So Donna and Diane recognize each other right away. And they seem really happy to see each other. And Donna's going to shake her hand. She's like, oh my God, I feel so stupid. I had no idea you were the Gould and Amador Gould Gilson. Diane says, it's a small world, smaller valley even. But this is great. Now we don't have to waste time exchanging pleasantries or small talk. But then she looks at Cam. She says, except for, and then Cam's going to introduce herself. And Donna's going to fill Cam in. She says, oh, Diane's a mom at Joni's school. Cam says, wait, oh, okay. Oh, wait, the mom of the girl Joni beat up. Not normally how you would start off a meeting with a venture capitalist. But Diane's going to sort of playfully protest. She's like, I heard it was more of a draw. They all laugh. Elias, her partner, is going to walk in. Diane says, this is Elias Amador. He'll be joining us. They shake hands with him. Elias is like, well, full disclosure, I haven't had time to read this, but I love how you've grown Mutiny, and I can't wait to hear what you've got. So they got this meeting on the back of their reputation, but Elias did not have time to read the prospectus and has no idea what they're meeting about. Maybe he should have taken a second, huh? So Donna is going to smile in a genuine way. We've seen her smile fakely, especially with Tim and Mac. This feels like she feels grounded and settled in this room because Diane's there. So we get this awkward pause because they don't know how to jump in when she knows somebody. So she's like, should we just, and Diane says, yeah, whenever you're ready. Donna jumps into the pitch. She says, imagine a place you could go where whatever your passion, whatever you collect or love, it's available to you with the push of a button. Kim's looking properly confident here. Elias starts looking through the prospectus, though. He's heard something that's making him investigate what's actually in these pages. Cam clocks this. Cam continues with her part of the pitch. She says, a rare Spider-Man comic, a bootleg Dylan concert, first edition Fitzgerald, even a hard-to-find part for your Apple II. Elias, he sees something in the prospectus. He's getting a pen. He's starting to write something. Diane's listening to their pitch. Donna says, it's all there. You don't have to scour the local flea market. Cam says, on the chance that they might have it. Elias is writing. Diane's smiling. Donna says, or hit every garage sale. Cam says, on the chance that they might have it. Elias tears off his note and he gives it to Diane. Donna says, or even leave your home. Diana reads the note and stops smiling. And Cam's clocking all of this. Cam says, because you're connecting to people across the country who were all part of, Diane says, let me just stop you right there. Everything you're saying sounds terrific, but just to cut to the chase. So you're shifting your core business from chat to trade, yes? Cam says, no, not shifting, we're expanding. And this isn't the first time. She's trying to save it. She says, we started with games. We noticed that our users were chatting during games, so we moved into chat. Our base jumped exponentially. Cam says, and then we noticed that our users were trading during chat. So we go where the user behavior takes us. And it's proven, Donna says, it's our business model. It's proven to be highly effective. We're going to see Diane and Elias looking at each other. They're both noticing this, Cam and Donna, but because it reads all over Cam's face, we're seeing that she's very uncomfortable with the fact that the body language has shifted so much. What note did Elias write? So Diane just confirms, okay, so to be clear, your expansion is predicated on the idea of swapping goods through a BBS. And Cam and Donna both say yes. And Diane turns to Elias. She's like, anything you'd like to ask? He says, nope, good, thank you. Diane smiles. She says, okay, thanks for coming in. And now we're going to get a pause. Donna's like, well, our pleasure. We look forward to, Diane nods. She's like, it's a pass. It's very polite. But what did Elias write on his note? My goodness. Donna says, I'm sorry. I don't understand. Don't you want to at least look at the numbers? Diane says, no, sorry. And frankly, so we're going to find out later that the reason Elias must have written down the name of the company he's been tracking that's actually a competitor to the product that's being pitched to them right now by Donna and Cam. And it's not in Diane's best interest to share the information about the fact that there's a competitor working on this product that they're considering. So she has to just decline. And she says, nope, sorry. Elias and Diane are going to stand up. Donna and Cam are going to reluctantly stand. They thought they had this one. They felt so comfortable in this room. They think Donna is like, okay, thank you for your time. She's just leaves. Cam, and I really like this moment. Cam just shakes their hands, says, thank you. And then she leaves. Cam's, you know, it's interesting. Cam's sort of coming into her own style, I guess. She isn't able to control her emotions enough for it not to read on her face. But Donna didn't even shake their hands before she left the room. Cam does. So she is learning in moments how to sort of overcome what she's feeling and put on a professional sort of air about her. She does have some work and some growing to do if she wants it to not feel like, if she wants to be able to have more of a poker face. She definitely does not have one. And maybe that's something she wants to grow into, or maybe there's something charming about being authentic. Maybe that's what makes Cam Cam, and maybe that's what makes you want to do business with her, that you know you're going to know what she's thinking. So it's interesting that they've got these different styles, but I thought it was so interesting that Donna doesn't shake their hands and Cam does. So Donna is going to walk through the hallways quickly to get back to the elevator. Cam's walking behind her. Donna's like, unbelievable. So much for sisters doing it for themselves. And that is a shout out to the 1985 release of the song Sisters Doing It for Themselves. It's a song that was a team up, but a collaboration between Aretha Franklin and the Eurythmics, specifically Annie Lennox. What a team up that was. So Donna's referencing that. Cam says, Jesus, they say the next best thing to a yes is a quick no. You can't get much quicker than that. Donna's like, well, that was too goddamn quick. It's like she made up her mind when she saw it was me. Donna is taking this very personally because she had an interaction with Diane before this. And she thinks that Diane just doesn't want to do business with her. I love this from Cam, though. Donna gets onto the elevator. Cam kind of squints. She gets on the elevator and she's like, she doesn't think that's it. She says, no, she didn't. For Cam, it's very something about that. She's like, it wasn't that Diane didn't want to do business with Donna. I think she did. Like, she was listening. She was receptive. Elias wrote a note at a certain point early in the pitch. He heard something he didn't like. He told Diane, and Diane responded to that, and Cam picked all of that up. Donna took it personally. Cam was like, no, she's assessed the VC landscape, and she knows what just happened in that room, sort of. She can't pinpoint why it happened, but she knows the energy she was getting from those people. All right, time for a deposition. We're going to get a close-up of a tape recorder first. And then we're going to expand a little bit. We're going to see the tape recorder and the monitor that's showing the visual recording of Gordon. And for those of you who got a chance to listen back to Rachel Goodlett-Katz's interview that I did, she was an editor on this episode, and we talked quite a bit about this scene. And because I think this scene is so interesting because of when you see Gordon on the monitor, Gordon next to Gordon in real life. So I'm going to talk through some of those beats as I go through describing this scene. Okay, so the Macmillan utility lawyer says, Mr. Clark, you created the Sonaris virus that took down Westnet. Yes. The camera is going to show us Gordon out of focus and Gordon on the monitor in focus. So we're going to get double Gordon here. Gordon says, no, I created a fetch program to detect network size. Due to an error, it self-propagated. I had nothing to do with it infecting Westnet. I love the fact when he's talking about self-propagating, there's two of Gordon. Okay, so Macmillan's lawyer says, but it's your contention that the Macmillan antivirus software is a variation of this fetch program. Gordon says, no, not a variation. We're going to get a closer look at the monitor. Only 2 kilo lines of code out of 452 were changed. And I know this because I changed them myself and hand delivered it to Joe. Yeah, he may have added some bells and whistles since then, but come on, he's not fooling anybody. Joe's lawyer says, when you say you hand delivered the program, was that a gift or a transaction? Now the camera is just on Gordon, not on the monitor, because we're taking it down to more of a personal conversation. Gordon says, aren't gifts a type of transaction? Joe's lawyer says, you give a gift to a friend. You have a transaction with a business partner. And he smiles kind of tightly. And now we're going to now we're getting legal speak. And so the camera is going to go to the end of the table in the boardroom so you can see everybody. Gordon's like, did you just make that up or is that a real thing? He just stares at the lawyer. The lawyer says, Mr. Clark, at what address did you live on the date of July 30th, 1985? Gordon hangs his head. He's been through this date shtick before. Gordon says, the same address that I lived at on February 17th and January 27th and May 1st, 1985, and every other date you've asked me about. The camera is now on Gordon. They're making Gordon human again here. Joe's lawyer says, could you please repeat the address? Gordon repeats the address in Richardson, Texas. Joe's lawyer says, and did Mr. McMillan visit your residence at that address on July 30th? Gordon says, yes. Joe's lawyer says, and how did he know that you lived at said address? Gordon says, because he had been there before. And now we're going to get more into the interrogation of it. The camera goes back to the end of the boardroom table so we can see everybody. Joe's lawyer is like, and why had he been there before? Gordon says, because we were business partners. The lawyer says, and friends? Gordon says, yeah, and friends. The lawyer says, so when he visited you on July 30th at the address that he gave, now we're going to get the monitor plus Gordon because it's all going crazy in here. Was that as a business partner or as a friend? Gordon says, I don't know. You'd have to ask him. The lawyer says, well, from your perspective. Gordon's like, from my perspective, Joe McMillan does things for one reason and one reason only. And the door opens and the secretary lets Joe in. And Joe McMillan's lawyer is like, wait, excuse me, we're right. And Gordon's lawyer is like, we had an agreement to keep these depositions private, Mr. McMillan. Like, you're not supposed to be in this room. Joe, finally, there's movement in this room. Joe comes in, he walks to the other end of the table. He's standing while everybody else is sitting. And he's looming very large. I don't know if this is something to do, like, is there meant to be sort of like a Japanese vibe? Is this table especially low to the ground? It looks like it comes up to Joe's knees. I don't know if this was a trick of the camera angle. It's like, or maybe his like mid thigh. It's like the smallest table on the planet. And Joe looks so huge standing over it. So Joe says, oh, please finish that thought. Just say what you were going to say. So he has been watching all of these depositions. Gordon, as they're happening, by the way, Gordon, and maybe that's why he didn't have any meetings on his calendar. I don't know. So Gordon says, because he's a selfish, self-serving piece of shit. And when he says this, the monitor switches to Gordon is in focus and the monitor is out of focus. So he's off balance. There's two of him in the shot, but at least the Gordon that was real is in focus in this moment. Joe says, I'm prepared to offer you 50% of my stake in the company. Joe's lawyer, this is off script. Joe's lawyer says, Mr. McMillan, this is completely, Joe says, no, it's an even split. I've got one condition. I want you to come run it with me, Gordon. Joe's lawyer is like, Mr. McMillan, I'd prefer you run something like this. Joe's like, it's fine, Aaron, it's fine. Gordon looks resolute in this moment. He's not going to work with Joe. Joe walks over to him and he's going to sit in the chair next to him. So he goes from the end of the table. He's going to sit right beside Gordon. Joe says 60%. Now we're going to see both Joe and Gordon together on the monitor. 70%. Come be my partner and 70% of the company is yours. Gordon's lawyer leans in on the screen. So now the three of them are in the monitor. Gordon's lawyer is like, Mr. Clark, my professional advice, and now we're going to see the three of them in person, would be to seriously consider Now we're going to switch the camera angle. We're going to see Gordon and Joe in the foreground and Joe's lawyer behind them out of focus. He's like, I'd like to state for the record that this is not a legitimate offer. Joe says, it's fully legitimate. I'll sign anything you put in front of me. Just say the word, Gordon. Gordon says, I don't want to work with you, Joe. Joe takes that in. He looks at his lawyer and he smiles a bit, and he looks back at Gordon and he says, I think we now know what this is all about. Gordon looks down. He's pained. He looks like he's going to cry. Joe's lawyer says, okay, returning to the date of July 30th, 1985. Mr. Clark, from your perspective, did Joe McMillan come to your residence at 2824 Depew Drive as a business partner or as a friend? Gordon says, I have no idea. Gordon and Joe, how are they feeling? I don't know if I have an answer on this just yet. Okay, so let's talk this through. So Joe, at the end of season 2, Gordon gifts the antivirus to Joe. And Joe gets an idea from that, pitches it to a firm that wasn't giving him the time of day before. They like it. He gets backing. He, from their lobby, calls Gordon. He doesn't even leave the building before he calls Gordon, says, go into business with me. Let's do your idea. Gordon doesn't even hear out the idea. And he says, I'm moving to California and I'm working for Mutiny. And Mutiny just screwed Joe over. In Joe's mind, Joe had the best of intentions, I think, in how he approached Mutiny in season 2. Mutiny, in turn, screwed him over. Now, do I think that Donna and Cam should have trusted him? Not based on the information that they had, but does Joe think they should have? Probably. He wanted redemption. They didn't give it to him, and they tanked his... He was going to go to California. He had already left the company, and they sullied his name. So Gordon maybe seemed like he was giving an olive branch, like he was Joe's friend, like Joe, like maybe Joe could trust Gordon and still have that relationship with Gordon. He might have thought that when Gordon went to his apartment to give him this antivirus, but now Gordon has been stolen back by the enemy. So Joe maybe feels betrayed by Gordon. And so Joe, for a second time here in this conversation, says, Gordon, work with me. He's trying to steal him back from Mutiny. He wants to work with, I think he'd probably be prepared to trust and forgive Gordon if Gordon worked with him. He puts it back out there. Either he does it because he's baiting Gordon and he thinks Gordon will say no, or because he actually wants Gordon to say yes. So I think that's what's happening there. For Gordon, Joe stole his idea. He took his gift and he made it commercial and he's profiting from it. And Gordon maybe feels tricked by that. At the same time, he does know that he rejected whatever conversation Joe was going to have with him when he said, I can't work together with you. I'm going to California. I'm working with Mutiny. Now, something that I'm thinking about is how sort of disillusioned and depressed Gordon seemed in the last episode. He just does not look like he's happy with the life that he's living in California. And he looks like he's kind of trapped working at Mutiny. And, he tells these ghost stories about Joe and these stories of betrayal from Joe. But maybe that's coming from a place of, I should have said yes. Like, I wish I could have said yes to that. Maybe he has to be angry with Joe for pursuing his idea because he can't be angry at Donna for making him stay at Mutiny. I don't know. I'd love your thoughts on this. Where's this animosity coming from Gordon for Joe? Because before, when Gordon went to Joe's apartment at the end of season 2, his heart was bleeding for Joe. He was not happy with Donna for tanking Joe's business relationships. That, did it have to be that you let a virus loose on WestNet to get back at Joe? Joe was leaving. Joe was, I think Gordon was inclined to think that Joe was the victim in that situation. And the difference literally is the moment that Gordon sees that Joe is now selling and making money from his idea. Does that feel like, I don't know, does that feel like another sort of giant slingshot situation? Yeah, a lot of interesting things there. I'm most interested in what is happening right now for Gordon, and hopefully that started to loosen some ideas up for me. But maybe he's just angry with Joe because he wished he would have said yes, but he couldn't because he had to work with Donna. And he wishes he could be living this life where he could be profiting from this idea. He finally had the big idea. It was an idea that was originated by him. And it was taken by Joe because Gordon didn't claim it himself. Maybe that was it. Gordon worked on the Giant Pro and he's like, that was terrible. Like that wasn't even a good idea. And he was the leader of that. And he doesn't feel proud of it. He could be proud of this antivirus thing, except no, it's Joe's. All right, well, coming up with some ideas there. Love to know what you think about it. Okay, so we're going to go back to we're going to go back to Cam looking at the mutiny prospectus. It's laid out on the floor in the kids' bedroom at the Clark household. She's got the pages spread out all over the floor of this prospectus. I wanted to point out we can actually see the revenue numbers when one of the pages becomes clear and focus. 1985 revenue for Mutiny was $1,112,470. 1986 year to date says $3,010,043. And that's like almost triple the revenue in a year. They're growing fast. Cam's going through all the pages. She's trying to find whatever the problem was here. Joni's like, what are we looking for anyway? Cam says, a mistake. Joni says, my parents are up in their bedroom wrapping presents for my birthday party. Like, I don't know exactly what they're doing. They still think of me as little. Kim says, well, it's because they've never seen you throw back a whiskey and smoke a cigar like I have. She's like, I never did that. Kim just smiles. She's like, you're joking. Okay. I wish I didn't have to have a birthday party. Kim says, I don't believe in birthday parties. Jenny says, you can do that? Kim says, yeah, it's your birthday. You can do whatever you want. She sighs. She gathers up all the papers. Jenny's like, did you find the mistake? Kim says, no. She looks back. She sits closer to Joni. She says, so who's coming to this stupid party your parents are making you throw that you don't really want to have anyway? Joni rolls her eyes. Okay, so we know from by the end of this episode that Cam has just gotten the idea that she wants Joni to invite her friend whose mom is Diane. And so she's going to angle towards that here once we cut the scene. But the other thing I really enjoy about this is in the last episode, we saw that Cam and Joni have a particular bond. And I can see how strong and how tight these two are. They really can speak to each other on the same level. They're more like sisters in a way. And, Joni has a respect for Cam. All right, so now it's party time. And we're at the Clark house. There's balloons everywhere. There's 10-year-old girls, 10-ish-year-old girls all around. And Donna is going to walk through the house collecting people. She doesn't want them in the house. She wants them outside the house. She's like, take it outside, everybody. Let's go. She's scooping them up. She's sending them out. And she's like, there's a slip and slide out there. Let's go, everybody. The doorbell rings. And Donna's going to call to Joni. Joni, you've got another guest to greet. She's going to open the door. Donna is. And it's Diane standing there with her daughter, Jennifer. Diane's like, oh, thank goodness. Donna's surprised to see her. She lets them in. Diane's holding a gift with Bob Ross would be very pleased. Happy little clouds all over the wrapping paper. Diane's like, Jennifer knew the name of the street, but not the address. So we parked, we prayed, we followed the screams. Cam is gathering up trash from around the inside of the house. She hears that it's Diane. She's kind of hanging back. Donna says, I wasn't expecting you. Joni invited Jennifer, and Diane says, Joni invited Jennifer, and seeing as how I'm her chauffeur, we're part of a package deal. Where should I put this gift? Donna says, okay, it's all out back. The girls and the gift table are all out back. She points, she sends them walking that way. And then Donna and Cam sort of connect with each other. She's like, I can't believe she's here. Cam nods. She's wide-eyed. How could that have happened? Turns out Cam orchestrated that, by the way. So Donna is like, well, I guess Joni patched things up with Jennifer. I'm telling you, girls that age, it's crazy. One day they're mortal enemies. The next day they're best friends. Maybe that's what she's thinking is about to happen with Diane. I don't know. So they are going to walk to the door. They're going to watch the party happening outside. And Cam's like, well, I mean, she's here. Should we take advantage of it? Anna says, no, I don't want to face that humiliation again. She's going to walk outside. And then we get to the party with all different types of party things that are happening. This is the weirdest party. Can I just say this party is so weird? And I'm going to bring up a couple different things about it that are weird. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't change it for the world. Okay. So first, we need to be immersed in this party. We're going to get some random girl who's like, Daddy, Daddy, watch me. And then she executes the perfect slip and slide. She nailed it. We're going to see a whole bunch of girls standing around. Cam is busying herself at various points. At this point, she's, I think, applying a temporary tattoo to one of the kids or looking at a temporary tattoo. Ryan is going to enter the backyard. Why is Ryan there? I don't know. Again, I wouldn't change this for the world, but there are no other coders at this party that I've been able to see in any of the shots. So why did Ryan come to this party? Maybe all the other guys were invited and he was too out of the loop to know that none of them were going to show up. I don't know. Maybe that explains it. Gordon's going to see him and greet him. He's like, Ryan, you made it. Ryan's like, yeah, I can't stay long. Given that it's like predominantly 10-year-old girls and their parents and him. It's like, not that it's not a nice party. Gordon's like, thanks. Ryan says, I wouldn't know. I've never been to a 10-year-old's birthday party. Well, not since I was 10. What do grown-ups do at these things? And Gordon gives him a beer. He says, well, we drink. And he says, hey, so listen, we're not supposed to be talking shop today, but I have a few ideas on how to move your chat idea forward. Ryan's like, yeah, how? Gordon says, okay, listen, a few years back, CompuServe had this CB simulator. He's already lost, Ryan. That I was totally obsessed with. We could start with that as a rudimentary template. Ryan says, my idea is more advanced than that. Gordon says, I know. All we would take from CompuServe is the shared memory virtual array manager from the CB sim code. We make it bigger so we can support more users, and the rest we build from scratch. Ryan's considering this. He's like, yeah, that would be a time saver. Gordon says, yeah, totally. He's listening to Gordon, but he's, I think, listening, thinking he's better than Gordon. Like, all right, you get the point. Gordon's trying to talk to him like he gets the point, but does he really get the point? I think Ryan's got a little more patience for Gordon than he does for others, but is Ryan really going to be satisfied with what Gordon's proposing? Probably not. Gordon says, come here. Look, he pulls him to the side. He says, no one designs in a vacuum. What's the point in reinventing the wheel if your true innovation is creating the tire? Ryan reluctantly agrees with that. Gordon says, take the giant, okay? Say what you will about it, but I started with an IBM PC and I made something that was twice as fast at half the cost and portable at 15 pounds. Ryan says, I thought that was Joe McMillan. Gordon basically chokes on his beer. He's like, Joe McMillan might have pulled the specs out of his ass, but turning them into a working product, no, that's not in his bag of tricks. Ryan didn't know that. Ryan's like, wait, what's this deal with Joe McMillan? Like, he doesn't have the technical know-how. He's just the idea guy, but he presented no ideas to Ryan in the last meeting. So Boz is now going to arrive, and he's going to greet Ryan and Gordon. And so begins the scenes that broke me. I'll just summarize this real quick because I think I just need to insert my take on the two scenes that are separated a little bit in where they appear in the episode. But Boz arrives at this point. He greets Ryan and Gordon. He's carrying a box that says Robo Butler on it. Now, it is customary at a party when you give a gift for the gift to be wrapped and not used. But practically speaking, to do this scene, I imagine they ran this scene multiple times. So what they did was props put together the Robo Butler. They put it in a box. They took all of the rest of the packaging away. They put the batteries in it. So it's just Robo Butler in a box, unwrapped. Boz carries that into the party. And he greets Ryan. Howdy, Ryan. Look at this. Gordon's like, what do you got there? Boz says, it got it for Joni. It's Robo Butler. Ryan looks at the box. He's like, that looks ridiculous. Boz is kind of annoyed because remember, the last interaction that we saw Boz have with Ryan was Ryan taking him to task in front of the entire team. Boz is annoyed. He's like, well, it ain't your birthday yet, is it? And Gordon says, what does this do exactly? Boz says, here, look at this. He puts the box on the ground. He very proudly pulls Robo Butler out of it, totally assembled, totally ready to go. He's like, look at here. And we see Cam watching all of this from a distance because frankly, if you're Mackenzie Davis in the scene, you have to watch this, okay? So he sort of brings them over to a pathway that's more solid ground. He brings everybody over there. He's like, okay, look, watch this. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it here. Okay. He places Robo Butler on the ground. Says, okay, put your beers right into the metal paws. So Gordon puts his beer into one. Ryan puts his beer in the other. And he's like, Gordon's like, wait, if you have to put the beers in his hands, why don't you just take them with you? I mean, what's the point of having the robot bring them to you? Boz is like, because he's a butler, man. It's what he does. All right, now back up. Okay, watch this. Joni's going to love this. And he pushes a button on the remote, and we get 15 glorious seconds of the Robo Butler traveling 5 feet. He's like, hey, look at him. Come on there, Robo Butler. Come on, look at me. I'm Robo Butler. Would you gentlemen care for more beers? So we're getting all of this. And it's going so slowly. And Gordon and Ryan are looking very skeptically at it. And Gordon's like, Boz, it's so slow. Boz is delighted with it. He won't hear of it. He says, I mean, it's taking forever to get here. Look at it. I could have walked over here faster. It's true. He could have. And then the Robo Butler tips over, but it doesn't just tip over, it like launches itself to its side and it spills all the beer. And Gordon and Ryan laugh, and Cam is kind of blowing bubbles behind them, and she smiles a little bit. Robo Butler sparks, a little puff of smokes out of it. But I was like, I got the receipt. It's all good. And Gordon's like, don't give that to Joni. All right, you're just gonna upset her. Boz is like, she's gonna love it. I am going to wait until the next scene, and then I'm going to insert my actual reaction, because as I suspected, it's a day later than I watched it, and I need you to see the real-time reaction that I had when I saw these scenes. But first, we're going to see Donna finishing a conversation with another mom at the party. She's going to walk over to Diane. They're going to clink beers. And Donna says, Hey, it's nice to see Joni and Jennifer getting along. Diane's like, just so you know, I get 60 proposals a week. She knows it's the elephant in the room. She's like, I usually pass on all 60. It had nothing to do with you. We see Cam's kind of watching them from afar. She's still blowing her bubbles. Donna says, no, I completely get it. She pauses though, and she's like, it really was a quick no, though. And we're going to see, I love this choice. We're going to see like a voyeuristic camera angle where we see like a wall in frame, and we're going to see Donna and Diane having a conversation like somebody's looking around the wall. And now we're going to see that it was Cam. Cam is kind of behind a wall watching this conversation. Diane says, okay, let's talk, but not out here. She doesn't want to be seen giving this information. So we are now going to see the follow-up for Robo Butler. Buzz and 4 10-year-old girls are hunched over the Robo Butler, which he still hasn't picked up. And they're laughing at the Robo Butler. And he's like, are you laughing at my butler, children? And he's like, get out of here, scram, all of you, get out of here, get. Dang, Butler. And he lifts the Robo Butler up by the arm, and it breaks. And Buzz is like, oh, hell, for Christ's sake. Now he can't even give it to Joni. If it were a good gift, he can't give it now. Okay. Guys, those scenes are quietly the funniest scenes I've seen in a long time. So I'd like to pause here for a moment and insert my real-time reaction to watching those scenes. And I hope you enjoy them.
Guys, I'm watching the episode a day before I'm going to talk about it, and I'm afraid that my reaction will be in some way dulled by the time I go to record the actual recap. I was just trying to watch Pause and the Robo Butler scene. Please just try to watch that scene and actually take notes about it, and tell me that you don't just burst into laughter the way I've been doing. It's like, it's not even one scene. It's more than one scene. He introduces the Robo Butler to Ryan and Gordon, and it takes it like, they actually spent a full 15 seconds on this Robo Butler moving 5 feet to get from Buzz to Gordon and Ryan. And Buzz is like cheering it on the whole time. 15 full seconds. And then it gets to Gordon and Ryan, and it tips over, and it spills all their beer, and it smokes, and it sparks. This little puff of smoke comes out of the Robo Butler. I mean, this scene doesn't even really make a ton of sense. He brings the Robo Butler in a box. It's not even wrapped. It's fully assembled. The batteries are in it. It's like he was clearly playing with it before he brought it to Joni's house. It might have been somebody else's. It might have been for him to begin with. And he was like, I'll make this make sense by giving it to Joni. And he brings it and he demonstrates it. And it just tips over. And then, not one scene, but 2, we come back to Boz. And he's got a group of 4 10-year-old girls around him, and they're all laughing at the fallen Robo Butler. And he makes them scram, and then he goes to lift the Robo Butler, and he breaks off its arm. He breaks off the entire arm, and the arm sparks. I can't. This is like, I didn't know how funny that scene was until I just went back to watch it again. Oh my God. I don't even know if I'm going to use this, but I gotta say, I needed it for me. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to record the podcast for episode 302, and I don't know how I'll talk about this scene, but if it doesn't feel appropriately lively, I will insert this. That's a promise.
I mean, Boz and the Robo Butler. Am I right? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go from there to Cam and Donna talking with Diane inside the house, out of earshot from everybody else. And Cam's taking the lead now. She knew that this opportunity she's orchestrated this. Cam says, look, I've been combing over our prospectus, replaying our meeting, trying to figure out why Elias's note derailed things. And I've narrowed it down to 3 possibilities. A, Elias doesn't believe our user base will embrace mutiny exchange as rapidly as our projections, which is wrong. She steps forward. It's like, it will grow that fast. B, Elias thinks our time frame from development to beta is overly optimistic, which is also wrong. He thinks we can't do it that fast. Donna starts to say something and then stops herself. And Cam says, C, Elias is a sexist jerk who doesn't believe 2 women can run a company, which now Donna does jump in. She's like, okay. Cam says, I'm leaning towards C. Diane nods. She says, Elias is a sexist jerk, but better than most. He doesn't care who runs a company as long as it makes him money. Cam says, okay, I'm at a loss. You're a smart woman. Exchange is a great idea. Diane says, I am smart, and it is a great idea. And that's your problem. You didn't allow for D. Another company is already doing this. Donna's like, what? Who? Cam and Donna look at each other. They hadn't considered this. This is why they got such quick no's from everybody. Diane says, it's a small outfit Elias has been tracking as a potential investment. Swap meet. Cam looks at Donna like, ooh, that is a good name. Diane says, I wasn't aware of it. Otherwise, I never would have had you come in. Donna says, what do you know about them? Diane says, only that they have an 18-month head start. Donna's going to groan. This is the idea, but somebody else already had it. Diane says, at the end of the day, that's what informed our decisions. It made no sense to bet on mutiny in a battle you weren't just losing. You didn't even know you were fighting it. So I once heard somebody describe Diane as starting out as an antagonist to Cam and Donna. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. She's put on the opposite side from Donna in the situations we've seen in the last 2 episodes. But she's a friendly face. She seems to be unbiased. You know, like the first time Donna meets Diane, it's because their kids had a fight and the parents were called to the principal's office. And Diane's like, yeah, my bad. We're getting a divorce. My daughter's upset about it. She takes responsibility for it. She doesn't want to make it a thing. You know, here, Diane was friendly in the room, did want to hear the pitch, was interested in the pitch that Donna and Cam gave. And then her partner says, can't do it. We're tracking another company that's competing with this product or service. And so Diane has to let it go. But here she is at a party giving Donna and Cam that information. I think she does want the best for Donna and Cam. Not even really knowing them, she's willing to give this information. So I don't see her as an antagonist at all. I see her as being fair and even-handed. Okay, so now we're still outside the party. Joni is standing by herself, looking very sad, watching Jennifer like just get all of the other girls around her and sort of leading the party. Gordon is going to approach Joni. He kneels down to look up at her. I like that choice. And he says, hey, sweetie, you doing okay? He sees that she's looking at Jennifer. He's like, she's really pulling focus, isn't she? Kind of like it's her birthday party and not yours. Maybe that's sort of a parallel to the situation that he's in with Joe, like Joe's pulling focus. Gordon says, look, honey, I just want you to know how proud I am of you for inviting Jennifer. It shows real maturity. Joni's bummed. It's like making her feel even worse that her dad's talking to her like this. Gordon's like, a birthday is not just a party. It's marking a passage of time in your life. You're showing me you're not just a little girl anymore. She stops and she's like, okay, I heard you. I'm growing up and you're proud of me. Can we just do the cake now? She's getting a little, I don't know. She doesn't want to hear it. Gordon's like, no, come here. She kneels down beside him. He says, I want to make sure you hear what I'm saying. You did a grown up thing today. She looks downright ashamed of herself. He says, your dad, he couldn't be more proud of you than he is right now. Joni says, stop saying that. She stands up. She says, Cameron paid me $20 to invite Jennifer to come. She feels used. And she hates that Jennifer's there. She's not happy about this party. He stands up. She's like, okay, I hate Jennifer. Can we just do the cake now, please? Everybody's asking for it. And Gordon's like, yeah, sure, let's do the cake. He lets her go. Yep, Joni got used. Okay, so it's the evening. It's after the party. Donna's washing a cup. Cam's gonna come in. Cam's like, okay, I've been on mutiny, asking around, trying to figure out what I could about this swap meet. Donna's like, and? Cam says, from what I can tell, it sounds seriously less robust than what we have in mind for exchange. Plus, it's focused on sports memorabilia, so I just can't see it reaching anywhere near the size and scope of our user base. Gordon's going to interrupt this conversation. He's like, hey, sure was weird that Jennifer came to that party, huh? Cam blinks a little bit. Donna's like, yeah, it was. But she turns back to Cam. She says, we're not going to lose to an inferior product. I refuse to be Betamax. Gordon continues on his thought. He's like, I don't remember inviting her. Donna says, no, we didn't. Joni did that on her own. Wasn't that mature of her? Cam starts to make herself busy. It's like, it's much better that we talk about this swap meet thing than about the Joni and Jennifer thing. Gordon says, yeah, it was. It shows a hell of a lot of maturity that she would invite Jennifer. Hey, which reminds me, he gives cash to Cam. He gives probably $20 to Cam. Cam's like, what's this for? Gordon says, for all of your help today. And he just gives her the eye, like, don't you dare with the $20 and using my daughter. He stares her down. Donna thinks it's weird. Cam takes it. She leaves. She's like, oh, okay, thanks. I'll be in my room. Donna's confused by all this. Gordon says, oh, she went out. She grabbed some cups for us. And they're going to clean the dishes together. Gordon looks after Cam, towards where she went. He doesn't like that she just did that with Joni. All right, we're going to go back to the mutiny office. Ryan is working at his desk. The rest of the team is working at their desks behind him. Ryan's phone rings. He answers it, and we hear Joe's voice. He's like, Ryan? Ryan's like, Mr. McMillan. Joe says, Ryan, I want you to do something for me. Ryan says, okay, what? Joe says, I want you to stand up. Ryan stands. He says, I want you to take a long look around. He does. I want you to make sure you see every single person in that room. Are you doing that? Ryan says, yep, he is. Joe says, good. Now forget them because you don't work with those people anymore. I'll see you tomorrow at my office, 9 a.m. sharp. Inspiration is starting to hit Ryan. Like, he hasn't looked like this when he was talking to Gordon. We did see him look excited when he was pitching to Cam and Donna, but they didn't want to do anything with his ideas. Maybe Joe's receptive. Ryan's like, oh my God, I'll be there. The camera pushes in on his face. We get an extreme close-up of him. We're like in his brain. He's like, thank you. Joe says, now, Ryan, there's one more thing I want you to do for me. And we're going to see what that is in just a moment. But first, we're going to hear a ding of an elevator. The elevator door opens. We're back at Diane's office. We're in the lobby. Donna and Cameron are waiting for Diane. She gets off the elevator. Donna's like, it's her, turn around. Diane says, isn't this a bit formal for us? We could just meet at Jennifer's birthday party next month. Donna's like, no, we're just going to be a minute. Diane says, I admire persistence. I really do, but we've been over this. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't convince my partners to fund your expansion. I'm sorry. Cam says, no, we get it. Donna says, that's not why we're here. Cam finishes the pitch. She says, you're right. Swap meet is our competition. It'd be foolish for you to invest over $1 million just to see if we can catch up. And Donna says, new idea. That's why we've done our homework. We found what we found is that while swap meet does have a functional program, it would take us a year or more to compete with. What they don't have is anywhere near the size of our user base. Diane nods and agrees. True, this pitch is correct. Cam says, we don't want you to help us compete with swap meet. We want you to help us buy them. They have Diane's attention now. Donna says, it's not $1 million to fight a war. It's a few $100,000 to win it. Donna and Cam are smiling. They both look really grounded in this pitch. They know it's a good pitch. And it is a good pitch. So now we are going to go to Donna alone in the bathroom, the women's bathroom at this company. She's looking in the mirror. She smiles. She celebrates. She pumps her fist. She kicks a bathroom stall door and it opens and it reveals a girl on the toilet. She's like, sorry. And then she leaves. Little moment of Donna celebration. Okay. What was it that Joe wanted Gordon to do? Well, we go back to the mutiny office. Gordon is at his desk, which is like, it's sort of in a corner of the room. It's not really a closed office area. It's just like, he's just sort of in a corner. All of his stuff is piled up everywhere. Ryan goes over to him. Gordon says, hey, Ryan, great news. I tracked down that CB SIM code so we can get started today. Gordon's kind of excited about it. He likes Ryan's idea. Even though the execution that Gordon suggested was pretty unsatisfactory to Ryan. And Gordon's like, just you and me teaming up, working on this thing. It's like, this is his new Joe, but a Joe that's never hurt him before. Ryan sighs. I don't think he really wants to do the thing that Joe just asked him to do, but he's going to do it. So he says confidently, I'm going to work for Joe McMillan. Joe put him up to this, and he knows that's going to hurt Gordon. Gordon's smile fades from his face. Ryan walks away. And now we get some very interesting choices in terms of camera and lighting. The camera is placed in a light fixture, like one of those fluorescent overhead lights. The camera's in that fixture, pointed down from far away, looking at Gordon and Ryan. Well, really, it's watching Ryan leave the office. He goes outside the exterior door. And then we're going to see that Gordon is frozen in place. Now we're going to get a close-up of Gordon. We're very close to Gordon's face. He's going in and out of focus. Gordon sort of starts to walk forward very slowly, and he blinks up at the light as it becomes brighter. Like it's blindingly bright. It's the only thing we can see in the frame is the white light. He squints a little bit and the light starts to fade. He's going to reach into his pocket, and he's got a little notebook where he's been keeping track of his symptoms. So he opens this book of symptoms, and he takes a note of the time, 10:30 a.m., and he writes the number 6. So I guess whatever symptom he's experiencing is the number 6 for him. He's coded it. And he rubs his eyes a little bit and he looks up at the light. So maybe that's his eyes are going out of focus, or he's getting dizzy. It doesn't seem like a headache. But yeah, so we're getting weird trickery with the lights. I like that it started because they put the camera up in the light. And it's a symptomatic thing for him. But is it a symptom, or is it his emotional response to what he just heard from Ryan about Ryan working with Joe? Not sure. And that is this episode. So, oh my gosh, so much to say about 302, right? Here's the music that we heard. The first song that we heard was one called So Clean by Crippled Pilgrims from 1985. This is where we're going to see mutiny at work. Gordon starts to walk the floor like a manager. Boz goes to lead a meeting and Ryan snaps. Another song that we're going to hear very lightly in the background is called Bonnaroo by Dexter Gordon from 1955. This is where Donna and Cam are at dinner with Mac and Tim. And then the third song that we'll hear here is at Joni's birthday party. It's called I Need That Record by Tweeds from 1980. Now, in terms of my favorite quote, it's all Joe and Ryan here for me. So, well, it's all about Joe or Ryan. So, a couple honorable mentions. I'll give one from Doggett, one of the coders, who says, "Is that intimidating? Getting grilled with Joe McMillan staring at you with those eyes of his? You know, Admiral eyebrows." Okay, so there's that one. I was debating which of these to make my favorite quote of the episode, and I was really tempted to make this next one my favorite quote, but I decided not to. So the next honorable mention for me is a quote from Ryan, who says, "This is a test and that was the wrong answer, right? This was a test and that was the right answer. I don't know what you want me to say." Poor Ryan. I think it just really, there's so much urgency from this poor kid. My favorite quote is a Ryan quote, and it's from the same conversation where he says, "Something's coming, something big, like a train, and all I want is to jump on board, but it's getting faster and faster, and I'm terrified that I'm going to miss it." I think that encapsulates so much of the energy that I feel from Ryan here, just in that few sentences. There's just a desperation and an urgency about him that makes me worried for him. It's so like, how could this, where is this going to go? He is putting himself at Joe's mercy right now. Gosh. And Joe knows it. You know, who is this Joe, and is he going to treat that right? I don't know. Okay, time to get to your feedback. And we've got a lot of really good feedback today. First of all, I've heard from Amelia Flowers. That's right, Amelia Flowers. First, I wanted to share a thought from Amelia on the last episode, 301, where Amelia says, "Before Gordon and Donna fix the mainframe, the intro gives me such twisted season 1 vibes. The stalling at the Comdex party, the duping of the reporter, and Joe burning the IBM BIOS." Yeah, there were a lot of sort of like shades of season 1. And when I thought about that, I realized how important that was, because we've moved cities. We have a complete tonal shift. All of our locations are different. We've got even some new characters. So what do you do to root us in this show and help remind us we're watching the same show? How can it feel like this is there's something consistent here? We've got the same characters in many cases, but even them, we're trying to establish where they are. There's been a little bit of a time jump here. So one of the things that they can do to help ground us is to have these moments that remind us of things that we saw in season 1 or in season 2. So I love that you spotted that, Amelia. Now, on this episode, Amelia shared a whole bunch of feedback. Apparently, Amelia, initially, when I started doing these podcasts, Amelia was going from memory and listening to the podcasts and commenting, but now she's actually going back and doing the rewatch alongside. So she has a whole bunch of feedback here. The first thing that I got from her was some commentary on the Robo Butler scenes, where she says, "I love their Gordon and Ryan's looks of disbelief and grumpiness about how slow it is. And then later the arm comes off so easily." And then we get a little crying, laughing emoji. I'm with you, Amelia. Oh my God. So here's Amelia's feedback, sort of scene by scene. Well, not scene by scene, but kind of going in order. From the first scene: classic Halt themes, people in reflections and prelapse. Joe surfing reflected in Ryan's mirror glasses, and Donna speaking over the top on our network. Elegant and efficient. Isn't it so beautiful? I just wrote, "I love it," in my notes. It's just gorgeous and artistic, and it shows us location, and it shows us a connection between characters, and it brings in Donna, and it's like, oh, it's all these great things that they started with this episode. Amelia says, it seems Cam's negative experience in the episode 1 meeting up to get the joystick all disappeared into online payments, right? Where is the whole thing about like being able to hack private chats? That doesn't appear to be a problem at any point in this episode. And again, I don't know, I'll keep an eye on it for next episode as well, but I do just still feel like we kind of needed a little moment there. I don't know, there needed to be like a little bit of a button on that. If you're going to have that scene with that guy at that coffee shop, there needed more. If you don't have that, we didn't need more, I think. Okay, Donna and Cam's pitch. Like in 301, we see them on script working together perfectly. The interview with Carl brought venture capital, and the requirement to move fast resonated more here. Yeah, I like that. I do just feel like they've really got a flow between them now. And yeah, it's nice to have that, like, sort of, I don't know, is it symbiotic, like that feeling of connection between them. They don't have the same style, but they integrated their styles. Cam is now fully aware what Gordon and Joe and Boz knew in season 1, that the most important thing is being first to market. Without sufficient funding, they're compromised and everyone loses. Yeah, I mean, goodness, how much Cam has developed as a manager and a leader of a company. There's still some improvements that she could be making here. I mean, she's got no poker face, but she's making strides for sure. The fact that Mac and the other guy try to wine and dine and dazzle and shaft, figuratively and probably literally, these new to the Valley women is really insulting. I was so mad at them. I know, those guys, yuck. And plus, in the context of, and maybe this often happens in situations like this in business, but because there's also like, we're giving you money attached to this, and like the payment for sexual favors that's implied is like, so makes them look like they're prostituting themselves, or that's what they came here for. It's just, okay. No one wears that shade of lipstick unless they've come to play, is such a bullshit line. But hey, it seems that anything could be used as ammo. We all know it's a power play at the end of the day. I know. It's so, what a touch it is that we then, in a later scene before Donna goes into the next meeting with another venture capital firm, she's like wiping her lipstick off so it's lighter. And Cam's like, you're fine. I feel like Cam was trying to speak directly into Donna's soul at that moment. Hal Max says at the end of the first meeting, if we were to offer you a term sheet, he doesn't to hear that Cam and Donna have been pitching to others. He doesn't like games. And yet at dinner, as Donna rightly points out, and not accepting the drink, that they want to lock them up for less. Mac and company are playing a game. It's a double standard. Yeah, he doesn't want them playing games with him, but he is going to play games with them. He wants the control. He wants the power. He thinks that's the way this dynamic should be. But the doubles tennis analogy with the close-up on Cam and then Donna really sets up and foreshadows the situation later in this season. Let's see what that's going to be. And interesting, now Cam wants more bodies to the coding team. Different to season 1 Cam. I noticed she doesn't say people. She has shifted fully to boss mode. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that you say when you're kind of somebody who's looking at budgets and headcounts, and you're more in a leadership position and you're having to justify things. You would use a term like bodies. That's a term that's been used in industries that I've worked in, and so it's interesting to see her incorporating that here. It's not like the poetic beauty of the code, it's the bodies that make it. As for Joe and Ryan, Ryan feels that no one notices him, searches out Joe. I always laughed at the line, in 5 years, the odds are going to go way up for viruses, not lightning. But now I'm seeing Ryan in a new light. Yeah. Ryan has not perfected his delivery on almost anything ever. When he's pitching to Joe at his car, what car is that? The one he takes to surf and not be noticed? The Porsche or whatever is for other occasions. The little side eye glance that Joe gives him after mentioning mutiny, well, specifically Gordon, I took that as if Joe was trying to see if there was any hint of subterfuge. Did Ryan know about the previous history between all of them and the current lawsuit? I gotta say, he probably doesn't. It's funny because Gordon's complaints about Joe have been very much public discussion in the office, but Ryan hates being around those people and doesn't ever want to listen to them. He just wants to work. So you can't assume that Ryan actually knows anything about this. And he thinks, oh, like we have somebody in common here. I'm just going to drop Gordon's name. I'm going to drop Cameron's name, but he doesn't know all the baggage because he never wanted to network to do that research. And yet that car, Jeep Cherokee, turns out, from the 80s. Ryan keeps going on without noticing. It's so adorable when he spins around to give Joe his privacy. Joe exudes confidence. There's no embarrassment about his scars or lack of clothing. Yeah, Joe is completely unbothered. He is going to strip whether or not Ryan is looking at him. And it's for Ryan to be like, oh, things have shifted here. It's awkward now. It's on Ryan to notice. He must be so confused when Joe just drives off. The frustration from being in limbo between feeling bought off by Cam and Donna and nothing happening with Joe gets directed at Boz. I know. It does. It gets directed at Boz. That's a really good point. It's channeled into Boz, who is the only person who's actually paying attention to Ryan in this moment. The scene between Ryan and Gordon seems important. I have ideas, echoes Joe's drug-fueled rant in the club with Sarah, who Synthetic Gerbil had noticed previously was a club called the Stark Club. I just wanted to point out that comment from another comment that I received from Synthetic Gerbil earlier, but never had a place to work it in. Thank you, Amelia, for giving me a place. Yeah, I have ideas. Echoing Joe's drug-fueled rant. It's interesting how people, the sort of the energy of ideas is stronger with some people than others at various points in each season. That Gordon listens to Ryan seems doubly cruel when Joe asks him to tell Gordon directly when he hires Ryan. Yeah. And the thing is, like, Gordon is ultimately trying to sell Ryan an unacceptable compromise. It's like Gordon in season 1 trying to tell Cam that, like, it's more important that this machine be twice as fast and half the cost than have a soul. It's like, that's never really going to be acceptable to Cam in season 1. And for Ryan, I don't know that if he had worked with Gordon on this project that he would have been satisfied with that at any point. But Gordon was excited about it more so. And he wasn't really, like, he was excited about the partnership with Ryan. And it was almost like Ryan was the new Joe, but now Ryan's working with Joe. Yeah. Such a lot in this one. Ryan meeting with Joe in his office, the deposition, Joe's offer, and Gordon's rejection. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. I know there's so much in this one, but thank you for all that feedback, Amelia. And now I wanted to bring in a comment from way back from Frackin' Toaster Lava. Woo! From 201. I know we're going back here quite a ways. But the theme here is Joe and danger. And I wanted to sort of look back at the last episode with the whole "Are you safe?" bit at this comment that Frack and Toaster Lava made in the beginning of season 2. If you remember, when Cameron and Donna went to go get the XTs from the guy who the guy who had fenced, with the XTs, and he had stolen them and he was selling them to them. and they're in the parking lot and he gives them a counterfeit one. And then they go to a bar to wait for him to get them. And they confront him and he throws Cam up against a wall. And it's like a kind of a dangerous moment. And she shouts, Joe, for no reason at all. She just shouts, Joe. So Frack and Toaster Leva says, I never noticed before that she shouts Joe in that moment, but it definitely sounds so. I'm not sure I'd say Joe represents safety and protection to Cam, though, especially not at this point. She explicitly thinks of Joe as danger, especially in season 2, while looking for safety from Tom and the rest of season 2. In fact, this is how she wants to primarily identify him at this point, but this might hint that on some level, she still subconsciously wants protection and care from him, just as we later see in 207 that she still values his opinions and advice over others, over most others, including her new boyfriends. So I love this sort of inspection of that moment when she shouted Joe in that bar. Is it because Joe was a safe place for her and she felt like she needed to shout for his protection? Or was it because she associates danger with Joe and this guy was putting her in a dangerous situation? And I think back to last episode where we see Joe giving the big reveal, the "Are you safe" reveal. And we see a shot at the end of the episode from the back, the nosebleed seats of this theater that he's in, where Joe's on stage, "Are you safe" is behind him. And the question is, are you safe with Joe? Is Joe's product making you safe, or is being in the context of Joe putting you in danger? Are you safe with Joe, or are you safe with Joe? I think you can see that in 2 different ways. And I love that we're still playing with that whole, season after that comment from, where Frack and Toaster Leva was looking at that. We're still wondering, like, what are Joe's intentions with the people around him? What are they with Ryan? Is Joe just saying, Ryan, work with me to get back at Gordon? Is that what's happening here? Did he actually hear something that he liked in that room? Did he think maybe there's a chance he can be inspired by Ryan? What is happening in Joe's brain? All right. And now from Synthetic Gerbil. Welcome back, Synthetic Gerbil. From episode 301 from last episode, got a couple comments here. Gordon looks so fallen and sad at the beginning of the intro. I feel so bad for him. He puts himself in this position with his marriage, but it's very obvious he's tried to make progress since then. Seeing that it's Yo-Yo and Lev laughing at him kind of hurts. Yeah, it's just Gordon has like kind of no light in his eyes until the moment he kind of grabs the managerial duties, the leading of the meeting duties from Boz. That's the first time we kind of see his eyes light up a little bit. And then a little bit in talking with Ryan about Ryan's ideas. But yeah, last episode, it was feeling pretty bleak for Gordon. Synthetic Gerbil also says, I could never figure out how Joe knows about Bosworth having a grandkid. I asked this question on the subreddit last year and people just assumed word got around. But how did the word get around? Boz himself asks Cam. Nope. Seems like the show wants us to figure this out. Maybe it comes up again later in the season and I missed it. Maybe the answer is in this episode. Maybe we'll never know. So I thought about this a little bit. And I guess a theory that I would have for this is Joe is absolutely no stranger to doing deep research on people to get what he wants. The people that he wants in his orbit, he will keep tabs on them. He will look things up. So if he is doing that, one thing he could be doing is looking for, maybe he's got, he still gets local papers from Texas. And maybe there was a birth announcement for his son. He knows that Boz's son got married some time ago. And so maybe there was an actual birth announcement in the paper in a community section. And maybe that's how he found out, or maybe his receptionist is keeping tabs on that for him, or his personal assistant for that matter. So maybe that's just been sort of like a don't lose track of what's happening with this company sort of a thing. So I would say that would be one way to potentially find out that information without actually having to ask anybody about it. It could be that there's a mole within Mutiny. It's just really hard for me to imagine that that's what's happening here because of the way things got left off at the end of, like, towards the end of season 2. That sort of face off of the whole Mutiny team with Joe didn't seem like anybody was receptive to Joe in that house at that time. So I'm more inclined to think that maybe Joe himself or Joe's personal assistant is keeping tabs on the people at Mutiny. Um, and maybe looking for entry points, looking for ways to get back at Gordon, looking for something. And maybe one of them has dug up this birth announcement. That's my thought. Okay, now Evan the Stray. Evan's got some thoughts on this episode, folks. Are you ready? So I love that Evan starts where both Amelia and I started as well. The shot of Ryan's aviator sunglasses reflecting Joe surfing is so freaking awesome. Makes me think of so many 80s movie shots. Yeah, oh, it's so beautiful. So many excellent choices there. Really inventive. At the office of Mac Harper and West Coast VC Tim, not another VC Tim Henkel, the paintings behind Mac are evocative of a starving pilgrim's landscape. Great taste, Mac. Yuck. Yeah, everything they're showing us about these two does not make me feel good about these two. I mean, thank goodness we finally meet Diane and her firm, because maybe finally we'll feel good about some venture capitalists. Maybe. Who's to say? The bar is low. Another cool partial reflection shot with Donna in the foreground, Boz in the background, and Cam to the side. Visually, it's like a fishbowl to me. Donna and Cam are anxious to hear back from Mac Harper and Tim Henkel about their VC deal after calling Tim 12 days in a row. I'm pretty surprised they didn't pump their brakes a little. Yeah, that's a lot. That's pretty aggressive. It's probably too much. Like, give a little bit of time and space between some of those phone calls, I would say. But yeah, but that shot in their office, I like the blocking that they all had there. Classic Doritos bag always brightens the TV mood, the TV or movie mood. For example, Ricky Butler from The Burbs. Okay, Gordon is Doritos. Surprise, turns out Mac and Tim are actually predictable VC slimeballs, angling to casting couch Donna and Cam to a cut rate deal. Yes. Gosh, they never outright say anything incriminating, but every single thing they say is gross. It's just rough. With Ryan's "something big is coming" pitch to Joe, it actually seems like he's articulating Joe's fear of something similar, and it appears that really resonates with Joe. The light saturation surrounding Ryan makes me feel like Joe's now receiving Ryan's message as a quasi-prophetic call to action, a divine intervention. Yeah, I think I was agreeing with that, and I do agree with that. I do think that when he saw that Ryan didn't have an actual idea and was waiting for Joe to have an idea, Joe got disappointed in that and maybe lost a little bit of interest. So I don't know when he calls Ryan at the end of this, if he does that because he wants to stick it to Gordon, or because he thinks that Ryan may have an idea, or that by being around Ryan, he'll have an idea. So we'll see what evolves with that. It makes me laugh a little when Donna tells Cameron that Diane is a mom at Joni's school. Then Cameron replies with a curt, "Okay," and a wide-eyed shut up face. Shortly following the child fight chit-chat, imperious Elias Amador enters the room. The older I get, the more pretentious the phrase "full disclosure" feels to me. I'm imagining him having an abrupt bout of diarrhea and having to leave the room post-haste to lay waste. Is my filter set too low on this one? I don't know. At face value, Diane looked as though she assessed her place in the chain of command and became straight business with Donna and Cameron, which is a little uncomfortable to watch. It appears she was given directive by Amador to pass on Mutiny's pitch. Donna probably feels like her kindness and familiarity with Diane led to her and Cam being punished for appearing amateur, weak, and relying on personal relationships rather than merit. I mean, the other thing too is we don't really know the balance of. I think Amador is the first name on the in the named partners, so maybe that means Amador is the managing partner. Um, so there might be that, but also I think like we don't necessarily know what happens in their team meetings, who's who owes who a favor, who's been working on what projects. If Amador says I've been working on this one, Diane maybe needs to back off, but if he is the managing partner, she'd probably be inclined to do that anyway. Joe enters the deposition and points at Gordon and commands him to please finish that thought. His aloofness creates a feeling in me that there's an expectation of implied subordination with Gordon and a devaluation of their prior relationship together. It's a little sad. Yeah, there's such a coldness in that room. And I think Joe is hurt by Gordon. I think Joe feels betrayed by Gordon. Is he bluffing and saying partner with me, or would he really work with Gordon in that situation and get past it? That part I'm not sure about, but I think the fact that Gordon rejects him again is like, no, you betrayed me and you meant to. Cameron paid Joni $20 to invite Jennifer to the birthday party so that Cam and Donna would have the opportunity to meet with Diane again. It reminds me of Joe going to Tom's house and speaking to Tom's mother about the purchase offer. That's a nice parallel. It's a little icky, that's for sure. Gordon certainly sees it that way. Joe calling Ryan at Mutiny is reminiscent of The Matrix when Morpheus called Neo at work, providing real-time details of how to exfiltrate the office before the agents arrived. Then how the scene ends with the elevator chiming. It all seems very deliberate. And now I'm consumed with thinking about The Matrix for the last 10 minutes and questioning whether the movie is really not so much about Neo and rather about Trinity's faith in Morpheus's prophecy and the Oracle. It's such a great movie. I mean, I don't even really have much to say about that. I'm not super familiar with The Matrix. I've seen it, don't remember it that well, but for those who have, maybe you're seeing some parallels there. Donna in the restroom kicking open that stall door. LOL. I love Happy Donna, which seems to take me back to Gordon, his missed opportunities, and losing Ryan to Joe. Smart gets the job done, and inspiration is a wellspring. Ryan knows what's needed, what he needs in his situation. Yeah, I like it. It's nice to see Donna celebrating for a second there. Okay, Mo quotes. Third runner-up, because he's a selfish, self-loathing, self-serving piece of shit, Gordon says. That's actually quite hard to say. Well delivered. Second runner-up, it's not a million to win it. It's not a million to fight a war. It's a few 100,000 to win it, Donna says. That's a good close of a pitch right there. First runner-up. Okay, this is going to sound weird and I feel ridiculous even saying this, but I know that something's coming, something big, like a train, and all I want is to jump on board, but it's getting faster and faster and I'm terrified that I'm going to miss it. That, of course, is the Ryan quote that I made my number one. But Evan the Stray's favorite quote was from Boz. The smiling VCs out here love to grin and screw you, don't they? At least in Texas, they stab you in the front. And that, my friends, is season 3. Episode 2. This is getting juicy this season. So let's see where it goes from here. And I'm looking forward to covering 303 with all of you. And in the meantime, go out there and watch Halt and Catch Fire. Bye, everyone.